Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the stream. Let me know if the audio is set up correctly. As always, I want to make sure you're able to hear what I'm saying. And let me open up chat. See how it's all working. Man, I love streaming. Okay, where is my chat window? We've got Honeybee. Thank you for joining us, Honeybee. Dermont and Flame. Let's see. Flame says, echo? There's echo? Does everyone else hear echo? Could someone else tell me, please? It sounds double. Okay. Moment, bitte. Moment, please. Let's see. Okay, tell me now if you're hearing an echo. I think I might have solved it, so I'll just wait. It's an echo, Nick. It's an echo from a deep, deep cave filled with tablets. And Flame, I have not forgotten your question. We'll get back to it as soon as we figure out how the audio is working. While I'm waiting, let me send a note to the Discord so that people know I am online. I am live now. Ooh, sneezing. Cool. And I'll keep talking and checking if the audio. No echo? Okay, great. Sorry for that. As often happens, I'm using a Rode X streamer device, and when I restart the computer, it gets the audio not only from my microphone, but also from the camera, so you're hearing two things competing. So I had to just turn off the camera audio. Okay, I think I have connected to the Discord. Chat is working. Dzień dobry, Michał. It's good to see you as always. Or I should say, dobry wieczór. That's actually, I believe, for you, the evening. Okay, and I'm just trying to get my notes up, because what I like to do with these streams is show you what the topics are, and let's plan out the stream together so we don't miss any topics. And we'll do some news as well, by the way. There are a few items I want to cover. Let me just find the notes again. 1 minute. As always, I try to have notes for every live stream. And that way we can project. Oh, they're actually, I'm going to take them from a different computer here. So just 1 minute. As I always tell you, I get a lot of energy from these streams. So sometimes I find a reason to stream, and I had some good ones today because it energizes me quite a bit, actually. Let's get there. So I'm just finding out where my OneNotes are. Let's see. Okay, thanks for confirming, Mia. Yeah, I need to learn more worldwide greetings. That is true. I only know a few words. Well, for an American, I know more Polish than people might suspect, but I'm not at all capable of speaking it. I just know maybe more than the average person. I'm much better German, I would say. I'm not, so maybe I'll say, Guten, what is it? I don't even know what you say, good afternoon anymore. My knowledge of that has eroded over 30 years. But I wouldn't feel uncomfortable being dumped in the middle of Germany. I would just have to ask that people speak really slowly and speak to me like I am a child. Like I'm probably capable of saying, I am hungry, I need food. Nothing political or philosophical or scientific, just very straightforward things. But yeah, I'll do that as well. Okay. Guten Nacht, guten Nacht. Guten Nacht, meine Damen und Herren. You know, I know for a lot of people, German sounds a bit rough. To me, it sounds like a very pretty language. I like the way it sounds. And where's my PowerPoint? Oh, sorry, I'm just collecting my thoughts here. Okay. Got my notes. Let's increase the size of this a little bit, and I will start projecting. Okay, you should be able to see the notes here. And let me do one more thing. I just need to make sure my devices around me are not going to get unpowered. So I'm going to plug in my phone to power. Yeah, and that's good. It needs that. Guten Tag, good day. Oh, Abend. That's right, Abend. I totally forgot about it. And just for a note, for those of you who are trying to pronounce German a bit better, when the word ends in a D, which is a voiced sound, you devoice it. So Abend sounds more like Abend, like with a T at the end. Just a pro tip to sound a little more German. Okay, so I think you can see the one note. Let me make sure that. And you know what? I'll tell you a little bit. I'll tell you an AI thing I'm doing to help me with German. Flame, the drawing tablets are a unique form of technology. I feel like the old models hold up remarkably well. Yeah, Flame, you're totally right. And this reminds me, I forgot to answer your actual question 5 minutes ago, or address your comment. One day you should do a live stream on how to install Open Tablet Driver. Yes. I briefly touched upon that in one of my streams, but yes, I am planning that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to change the background color to be a little. There we go. It was a little hard for people to see these comments. I think this will do it. Okay. And Nick Tyler, if you want 1 million viewers learn Chinese or Hindi or keep it English, here's a little trivia fact about me. You know, I wasn't born in the United States. I actually was born in India. And I spoke 3 languages, Hindi, Telugu, and English. But at 4 years old, we came over to the United States. So that was like, 1976 or something. And when we came over, my mother and dad, they spoke all 3 languages as well, but they didn't want us to have an accent. So they just quit talking to me and my brother in anything but English. So even though we were native and fluent for, young ages, we totally forgot everything. So even to this day, when we have a little bit of a family get together, they're switching between these languages pretty fast. And I'll just have to sort of just shake my head, and they'll all realize for a second, oh, he doesn't really know what we're saying. So they'll translate it for me briefly. So that's the dynamic when we have, thing like Thanksgiving. They always have to do a little bit of translation for me and my brother. Happens at work a lot too. They'll start joking because we have back in Microsoft we had a lot of people from India, and they'll notice I'm not reacting the way they expect to, like, oh, this guy doesn't. Yeah, so we'll have to talk English to him. Okay, so that's a little bit of trivia about me. So today I wanted to talk about used tablets, buying used tablets or pre-owned tablets, And I also wanted to talk about using older tablets. Now, maybe on the surface, these topics don't seem linked, but they are highly linked because many of the tablets that you buy, many of the tablets that I see people buy that are used are older tablets. And even if the tablet is not old, if you buy a used tablet, it may have, you may have to deal with issues that are related to older tablets, like the tablet may have just been used a lot, so there's wear. So there's a lot of overlap in these two topics, so I want to just address them both at the same time, okay? And you know what, I just realized I am getting a little parched and I don't have my water, so give me a moment and I'll be right back. Let's see, where is my right back? Okay, I am back, and you know what, I'm gonna start the background music as well, because for me, it's just much more pleasant to hear a little bit of something, not too loud. But let's see. The 7 sips, the flame, the 7 sips. I like that, I like that. This is about 30 fluid ounces of water. My nutritionist wants me to drink essentially 2 of these every day at least. And actually, she suggested 3 of these. So I need to do a lot of sips. I turn on the background music. Let me know if it's too loud. Okay. Okay, so let me bring up the notebook again, and I'll move my face to the upper right-hand corner. Okay, so again, these are linked topics, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about why you get a used tablet, why you'd get an older tablet, because there are specific reasons. And I definitely want to share my experience and a little bit about my collection. And I'll do this, then I'll just give you a brief, little tour. Excuse me, move my keyboard around a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of a tour of my collection. Maybe I'll just quickly recap that video I posted on the weekend. We'll talk about where to get these tablets. Like how is it that, where should you buy used tablets, and how is it that people get older tablets, the sources. And then I have, for both used and older tablets, I have resources. We'll talk about them, and we'll talk about topics, right? So we'll develop the outline a little bit later, but let me just now start and just, why is it we talk about used tablets? Well, the primary reason that I hear people mention used tablets is that there are 2. One is they're deliberately trying to get a used tablet, and the reason for that is almost always cost. A used tablet can cost significantly less than, something that you buy, let's say on Amazon that's new. The cost can be substantially lower. And a lot of people are, of course, just very tempted by that, especially for those people who are, they want to get a Wacom, which still has a very dominant brand name in the industry, and that's going to continue forever. But they want the best brand, and they want, let's say, a Pro tablet. We talked about what Pro is in the last stream. And so they see these Wacom Intuos Pros, maybe, an older model from 2013, maybe an even older model, like an Intuos 4, which is a Pro model. And they're very tempted because these are significantly discounted. You might find one of these for $50, and this would be like an Intuos Pro large. It might even be a relatively new one from 2017. But you have to carefully evaluate what it means to get a used tablet, because the price can be very tempting, but you might find that you may not be prepared for the issues you're going to encounter. Let's see, Nick has a comment. Let's see. Nick says, I have some experience with secondhand tablets. I did buy 2 used Intuos Pros. Oh, that's very good. And dealt with used Cintiq 24 Pro work. Overall, Not much problem with Pro Wacoms, but some models can be much worse. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because really one of the topics we'll have to address for used tablets is, of course, let me write this down. Oh. I can't even edit this correctly. Brand, right? Wacom, Huya, or etc. It's a good question. It's a really good question. And there's not an easy answer. I mean, there is an easy answer, but it may also be a little unfair. So brand's a good one we'll address. Thank you for bringing that up, Nick. So besides people saving money, the other reason people get used tablets is that they're gifted one. Like they weren't necessarily trying to buy one, but they're gifted one, or their older brother has one that's gone off to college, so he gifts to his sibling, or an uncle somewhere has one and hasn't been using it for a while. So they're used in that sense, right? And of course now you can start to see the overlap with older tablets, because some people just have a tablet that they received from someone else, and from their perspective, they don't even know that it's old, or they weren't trying to get an old one. It just, that's what's available, and it was free for them. So the situation you can see overlaps quite a bit. You can be seeking out an older tablet, or you just get one. Flame mentions, I wouldn't buy a used non-Wacom tablet personally. And Flame, overall, that's the advice I would give as well. There are a few exceptions to this. We can talk about what those are, but in general, I think it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Now, to help crystallize whether you should get an old tablet, I want to make sure you understand what resources are actually available. Now, the first is, and we will look through this doc, but I just want to make sure you know it exists. On my document website, there is a document I have called Buying Used Tablets, okay? And it's got some points there, and we'll cover them. The real thing is there's actually a video here, and it's really, you can tell, it's called, Buying Used Tablets, and it lists Wacom tablets. We'll talk about that. And then the other thing that comes up is whether it's a new or used tablet, is to inspect the tablet. So I actually have a document about inspecting a drawing tablet, and this could be for a new one as well. You want to make sure that the tablet is going to work, and there are things you can do to test them or to prepare for them, okay? And we'll go over some of these things, right? And that'll lead into, of course, what questions you should have for the seller of a used tablet. So let's write that down as well. Questions for the seller. Okay. And Nick points out, if you work in a studio, they just give you something to work on. And 99% of the time it will not be brand new. I am curious, for those of you who have worked in studios or are working in studios, what generally do you see? Do you see that they're giving really old tablets, or like they're relatively new, meaning, let's see, Intuos Pro 2013. It's an older tablet, but it's not, an Intuos 4. I'm curious, I'm also curious if they're handing down non-Wacom tablets. Because Wacom's been in the industry so long, I just generally expect that they are the primary ones, primary tablets that a studio would provide for their employees. Okay, and then for older tablets, I just want to make sure you know, I also have a specific guide. Of course, I have a document for everything for using older tablets. And so we'll, they overlap a little bit, but we'll explore these topics. I think these documents I don't think they're very complete. I think this stream is one of the forcing functions I'm using to help make sure they are more complete and they cover more scenarios. And then finally, I think that's it, and we'll go over them. So give me a moment. I need to bring up a slide deck. It's actually the slide deck for this video, that that I linked here. And this video was made in 2022, and I think a lot of it still applies, but I think I'd modify a few things and say some things differently. Let's see what Nick says. Oh, these are antique. Studios usually change update like 5 to 7 years. So, no, sorry, they're not giving antiques. So I've never seen anything older than 10 years. Yeah, that seemed to be about right from what I have observed on at least the Reddit comments. So thank you for sharing that, Nick. Okay, give me a moment. I need to hunt for a specific presentation. Let's see. I'm so happy I save all my blog materials and all my video materials. I really should, honestly, what's the right word I'm thinking of here? I really should provide all my slides online, but there are pros and cons to that. Okay, let's see, where do I want to put this? Sorry, I'm just renaming a file here. Okay, so I'm going to just bring up the slide deck, okay? Just so you see it, and then we'll go over some of the document and the slides together. Okay, so let's just go over it quickly so I can just refresh my brain as well. So yeah, this is back in June of 2022, and yeah, this is one of the reasons we'll talk about cost. Okay. Oh yeah, this video was largely centered around pen tablets. So that gives us another topic that I think is important to address, which is pen displays versus, where is this? It's the type of tablet. I think that's an important topic. Type of tablet. Pen tablets versus pen displays versus pen computers. Because this video is really, the deck I'm showing you is really about pen tablets. Though of course, everything here applies also to pen displays, but pen displays and pen computers have some unique things that need to be addressed, and we'll cover those. Yeah, so I think this is one thing I would get across with pen tablets in general. Obviously, there's the price of them. The second thing, again, we're talking about pen tablets, okay? Oh, Nizio has joined us. Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining us. That's a nice avatar, by the way. I like it. So there's price, of course, but there are other things where pen tablets are really attractive for buying used. Pen tablets are relatively simple devices. You know, it's a digitizer surrounded by plastic. They tend to be highly reliable. Remember that the weak link in the reliability chain is not the tablet, not the pen tablet, it's the pen. So in general, pen tablets just work for decades. If you remember my stream on the history of Wacom Pro tablets, I was using a tablet from 1980, well, not 1987, not 87, sorry, from 95, 96, right? And it worked. And in fact, I used a pen from 1987 with the latest Wacom, right? So that tells you also that the fifth point at the bottom here, electromagnetic resonance technology has really been proven. Like it works over a very long period of time. And yes, things have been tweaked, but overall it's been very stable. Let's see, I sent something to the live stream React channel, an argument for older drawing tech. Okay, we'll take a look at it in just a second on the Discord. Thank you, Nizio. Another thing is that you will find that older tablets will work on modern operating systems. The issue there is what driver you use. So that's an important thing to talk about. But there's nothing inherently about Windows 11 that stops you from using an older tablet. And I showed you that a couple of weeks ago, right? Another thing that may be surprising for a lot of you is that the features you're used to have been available forever. Obviously, we're talking about, the pen position, but things like tilt, like erasers, right? They've been around forever. Those aren't new features. So all the core stuff you need is there, even in a very old tablet. Okay, let's go to the Discord. And give me a second as I locate the Discord. Let's take a look. And thank you for sharing Nizio. I love when people have things they add to the Discord channel. Okay, where am I? Hang on. Okay, I got to remember, Nizio Martin. It always confuses me when people have slightly different or very different usernames in different systems. I knew Nizio was somebody, but I could not remember if it was Martin. That it was Martin. Okay, and let's take a quick look here. And let me move my face out of the way for a moment. Some older Cintiqs have a taller aspect ratio to get more vertical space. You have to go all the way up to 27 inches for a display tablet that gives you that type of vertical space. Okay, Cintiqs like the 21UX have a 4:3 aspect ratio. That's right. That's actually a great point. And let me add that to the OneNote. We'll talk about especially aspect ratio. And this topics for pen tablets, and especially for pen displays. That's a fantastic point. The other thing I think, now that you mention it, Martin/Nizio, is should definitely talk about specs. Like, how have they evolved, and what do you need? Terrific. Flame has a comment. Safe to say tablet technology has either peaked or is near its peak. I agree with you completely, Flame. I try to say this every stream I can. We're converging. And in a few years, it will be extremely tough to just take a look at the current feature set of tablets. And they're all going to be very good. They're getting to be very consistent now. Huion and XP have still some way to go, but Huion's it's basically there with their newer tablets that use Pentec 4.0. XP just has one more generation. I think they'll be there. And in one more generation for both of them, I think you're going to have a hard time judging. And then we're going to have a different kind of battle in this space. Nick, those prices, official 2017 Intuos per M, I got for almost $500. But later I got a large one for $200 US. In almost perfect condition. Those things are sturdy. I only once have seen them dying. Only once have you seen a dying pen. Yeah, my experience is very similar with you. And just to put some perspective, I think on Cube's Discord server, I recall someone got an Intuos Pro 2017 large for $50, and it was, almost brand new. So if you're on the hunt, you can find some excellent deals. Let's see, Cube says pen tablet aspect ratio might matter even more than pen displays, since you have to cut off parts of the pen tablet. Yeah, fantastic point. So matters a lot, because with forced proportions, you will lose some active area. Yeah, good point, Cube. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. My undo here is not quite working. No. Okay. So I talked about why used and why older. And I want to give you a little sense of my collection. And because one of the reasons I made that video in 2022, and I only talked about pen tablets, is that I only bought pen tablets used. Situation has evolved a little bit. So I want to show you always, I try to speak always from a position of some experience or, some practical hands-on knowledge or that I'm measuring something as opposed to hypotheticals. So give me a moment and let me see if I can find my actual collection. Okay, so give me one moment. I gotta do a little bit of editing here to remove some PII data, as they say, personally identifying information, and financial information. I'll give you some financial information. We'll talk about my great mistakes in buying tablets. I do have one big embarrassment to share with you, an expensive, big embarrassment. Okay. And we'll answer some common questions about why I have the tablets I do. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. This is the right thing. So these are all the tablets I have. And in case you're wondering, this technically is not my inventory. I mean, it is in a practical sense, but the real reason I was making this list is I had so many tablets. I really wanted to know how much I'd spent. And so that's why you see there's a couple of columns here that say cost, and I'm trying to split out, total cost versus taxes and shipping, et cetera. So I have a lot of tablets. So how many do I have? Let's just do the math here. We can look by the rows. I have, this is just Wacom, sorry. I have the, let me turn off the filter or clear the filter. I should have like 91. I'm not sure why I'm just seeing Wacom here. Oh, I see. Okay. I copied just the Wacom ones. Hang on. I'll be right back. Should have learned and done this better. I'll fix that. Okay, now we're back to normal. So let's count how many I have. And these, we'll do it by order date, which you cannot see. Again, I do all this so that you know that I'm not just playing around when I say I have a lot of I'm not just playing around when I say I have a lot of tablets. Okay, so these are the order dates, okay? So my collection was empty, but I have tablets, meaning in 2020 I didn't have any tablets. So that's when my ordering began. You can tell now obviously before 2020 I had lots of tablets, but I'd given them away or lost them or something. So you can see my very first one was this Huion Camus 22 Plus, okay? Now, let's move forward in time, and you can see 2022 was when I started my YouTube channel, and I have a lot of tablets I bought. 2023 was not a very heavy purchase year. I now have 96, or 95, the first row is the heading, right? Let's see, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Nizio Martin says, I think XP Pen is already at the grip level. Yeah, okay. I want to talk about that. And that's the pen I use with my Cintiq. So at least in my experience, they're already there, but Huion could be at Pro Pen 2 level. Fantastic point, and let me add that to the OneNote. I do absolutely want to address this. That is a very worthy topic. Let's see, where are we at? Yes. Let's talk about the importance of pens. Pens. So I'll talk about sort of like reliability, evolution. We'll talk about level, right? And we'll get into that. It's a fantastic. I agree with you, Martin/Nizio. Nick says old Intuos Pros have weird proportions, but not a big problem. You can force proportions or just ignore it. With time, your hand and brain adapt to it. You know, I think some people are capable of adapting to it, Nick. I would say everyone who has made the switch to forced proportions has always, that I've convinced to, has always thanked me. They've always said it felt, at the very least, a little bit better, and in some cases, night and day difference. So I do recommend forced proportions for every pen tablet. And Nick mentioned switching from grip pen to Pro Pen 2. I didn't feel any revolution. I just liked the design and shape of Pro Pen 2 more. I felt exactly the same way. In fact, for a long time, when I got the Intuos Pro 2017 models, I just didn't use the new pen. I just stuck with the grip pen. Now, the Pro Pen 2 is better, but the way in which it's better doesn't really affect my drawing, believe it or not. Even to this day, I sometimes use the grip pen instead of the Pro Pen 3 or the Pro Pen 2. Just because I'm used to it. And I think it sort of gets held better in my hand. Let's see, Cube says, of all the pens I've tried that aren't Wacom and try to imitate the grip Pro Pens, they just can't get the rubber right, and that makes them feel a little off. Oh, interesting, interesting. And I've got a interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Though I would say that the Pro Pen 2, for example, which I'm holding right here, it's. I've always felt like the rubber here can be too easily sort of pinched and moved off, and that's always bothered me. I mean, it feels good, but whenever I notice that I hold it and you can see it kind of warp, it's always been just a weird feeling for me. Okay. So let's get back to the collection. And I'll just talk about a few things here. How many have I actually bought used? This is my total collection. Some are used, some are new. And the way to tell is we're going to take a look at the vendor, okay? And I'll sort by A to Z. So you can see I primarily, I buy a lot on Amazon, some on B&H Photo, right? And then a ton on eBay. So how many have I bought with eBay? Which are obviously used. Let me scroll down. So I bought 42 of my tablets on eBay. So just under 50%. Let's say 45% or something. Let me filter to just eBay for a second. Okay, and then let me sort by cost. Actually, let's sort by type, and we'll see how many I bought by pen tablets and pen displays. So you can see right here, I've only bought 3 pen displays that are used. And these are relatively old pen displays, Cintiq 13 HD, Cintiq 21 UX, and Cintiq 22, okay? So I can answer some questions about my experiences using these older pen displays. And it's a good time to talk about them because Wacom has just released, or is about to release, new Cintiqs. So it was like 40 something here, I think 45, but most have been pen tablets. Now I'm going to sort by cost. And this will bring my biggest embarrassment to date. Okay, now many of you know I have a little bit of a problem with Intuos 4 XL, and I have 5 of them. Why I have 5 may be due to me being touched in the head, as they would say. I just suddenly felt the need to have 5 of them. And so I bought, over 2 years, I bought a total of 5 on eBay. Now, the Intuos 4 XL is in fact the first, I believe it may be the first used tablet I bought. If I sort by order date, let me just verify. Sort by oldest and newest. Yeah, it is. Now notice how much I paid. And I don't have the taxes and shipping, but it was $600 because I was desperate to get this thing, and I didn't really pay attention to a lot, and it didn't work. There was no. The terms of purchase did not include returning it, and I stupidly didn't ask the seller, did it work, or to test it, or anything. So I paid $600 for a broken tablet. And whose fault was that? I didn't even have a pen, by the way. Whose fault was that? Mine. Okay? That was my fault. That was the biggest mistake I made buying a used tablet. So one of the goals of this stream is to help you, to motivate you, to dig harder, and to spend less, and to make sure you're getting what you think you're getting. Okay? Now, I said I had multiple Intuos 4 XLs. Let's just take a look at the other prices I had. This shows you the kind of variation also in prices. So I have 5 of these, and I have paid between, look at this, 600, 250, 200, 200, 150. Now, why do I show you these? Because if you're willing to wait, be a little patient, you can surprisingly get you can get some really cheap tablets, right? $150 for this is crazy. I'm not sure what the Intuos 4 XL cost at retail when it was released. I'll go find that number out, but I think, when you're dealing with $250, $150, it's an enormous discount. But yeah, that was my big mistake in buying a tablet. Oops. And I'm going to show you something else since we're talking about prices. Let's go filter by, or sort by smallest to largest. Cube has a great comment here. eBay listings have to be marked by the seller what condition they are in. If it says used or new, it must be in working condition. If it is for parts or untested, it might not. Yeah, I in my recollection, it didn't say anything about being untested. It said it was used, and maybe I missed the part that said untested, but I should have done that. That was my mistake. And I just thought, again, part of this was the desperation, I was really getting into tablets again. I was like, I've got to have the biggest tablet around, and I kind of tricked myself into buying a tablet without thinking about it. So if you can profit from my example, please do. $600 for junk. Makes me furious for seeing those offers for art pen for $400. Yeah, absolutely. $600 was crazy for that tablet. I didn't know any better. Remember, I was used to, in 2022, like I saw the prices of tablets, the Intuos Pro was like $500, the large, and then I thought Intuos 4 XL $600. Well, that seemed like a good deal to me in my ignorance, right? Only later, as I started hanging out in Cube's Discord server and people were buying tablets, and I was seeing the deals they were getting, I was like, wow, I really wasted a lot of money there. And I don't want anyone to waste money. That's really the purpose of my channel. I want you to have a great experience. I don't want you to overspend anything. Right? Let's see, even if a seller says, Cube mentions, even if a seller says they don't do returns, eBay will often force them to refund you if they shipped you something that isn't matching what they claim. That's good. That's good to know, Cube. I wish honestly, I was on your server when I bought this, and I had wished I had talked to the audience a bit more before I made the purchase. And I didn't talk about it all this time, honestly, because, frankly, I was a little embarrassed to have made this mistake when you all knew better. And So, this is my confession. This is my mea culpa. And again, maybe others will profit from my quite stupid example. Flame knows what I'm talking about. He was a young lad in 2022. He was learning, yeah. I was but a boy. I was but a boy growing up on the mean streets of Tablet City. Okay, but I wanted to show you prices, right? To just show you what really drives, what can you get here? Okay. Let's say comment from Flame on Cube. Cube is the tablet goat. This is true. This is true. You may notice I often, sorry, I'm going to get a little bit diversion here. When you read an epic poem like the Odyssey, Homer never just says he never says just like Athena or Odysseus, or he always says like this statement before them, right? Like, I don't know, wise, sprung from the brow of Zeus, Athena, like to sort of like give you, I don't know, make it easier for him to remember, because these were oral poems. And so I always do the same thing, almost always with Cube. I say, not just Cube, but I say, tablet expert Cube says this, because he is the expert, right? Remember, I thought I knew about tablets. Then I met Cube, and just my mind was blown. Like, I just realized I know nothing about tablets. I know a bit more now, but compared to Cube, not at all. Okay, so let's just take a look at, now where it says 0, it's not really 0. Actually, I have to remember, either I don't have the cost, or sometimes, I think I don't have the cost, so I have to look those up. Let's look at the ones that aren't 0. Okay, in 2002, 9x12, ancient tablet, but I got it for $12. Not bad. Don't get me wrong, you have to watch out for shipping. Sometimes the shipping can be, twice the cost of these cheap tablets. But let's take a look at a more reasonable one, closer in time. In 2003 is still very popular, right? In 2003, 9x12, basically $23. Okay. In 2004, medium, $36. Okay. What else do we have here? We'll look for the Intuos. Oh yeah, Intuos Pro 2017 medium. This was $150. Now I think this wasn't a good deal. In theory, I think you should pay less. I think it's an okay deal. It's an okay deal. The reason I think I got this one specifically was this is the first time I really wanted to try a more modern tablet to see if how much the discount would be. Let's see, and let's get some more, let's keep on looking for some more modern ones. Yeah, here's Intuos Pro 2017 large, $250. And remember, the retail price right now is $500. So, good savings, good savings. And the rest, I have to go back through and find the prices, but I just wanted to show you this because you can really get substantial discounts. But again, when you see these older tablets, let's just say Intuos, let's go back to the Intuos 3 I mentioned for you. Yeah, this one. Intuos 3, 12x9, $150. Some people are going to be really tempted by that, but you have to be careful because there are issues that come up, okay? Oh, interesting. Let's see. Cube says, also on eBay, if a seller has offers enabled, it's worth throwing them an offer if you think they're selling something for too much. Oh, interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'll have to give that a try. People seem to rarely do this, but it works. People who are buying seem to rarely do this, but it seems that it works quite often. Interesting, interesting. Maybe I should try that with that $500 pen. Does Cube have a channel make videos? I don't think I've seen Cube make a video or have a channel per se. But let's let Cube answer that. How did I meet Cube? Okay, that's a good question. Let me think. Okay, now I know. he, using a non-Cube name, was answering questions on the Reddit, and that's actually because of one of his posts, I learned about something called OSU, a game of clicking circles where many people use a tablet. And then from there, I discovered he had a Discord. And it was very obvious, by the way, from Cube's comments on the Wacom subreddit. He knew what he was talking about. So I saw he had a Discord server, so I joined that. And that's how I got into learning about tablets, actually, was joining the Cube's Discord server. Let's see. I don't get how, Nick says, I don't get how eBay works now. I often see crazy offers like, I was buying a gift keyboard for a friend, in official stores it was $200. On eBay, lots of offers for $400. Like, yeah, that happens sometimes. And I mentioned it just a minute ago, but Cube and a couple of others have been tracking this one pen. Maybe I'll see if I can find it on eBay, which is an older Wacom pen. And it was originally listed for $700. And now it's being discounted to $500. No, to be fair, it's a unique pen. Maybe we'll take a look. But yeah, sometimes the prices just seem out of whack. Okay, so again, I'm just doing this to give you a sense of what you can get. Let's take a look at a more modern tablet just to see the prices. We'll take a look at a model name. We'll take a look at Intuos Pro 2013s, which are reasonable. I got the small here for what? Where's the small one? Small one for $30, not bad. Intuos Pro 17. I got a medium for $150. Again, that's a decent price, actually. That's a decent price. Large for $250, good price. So yeah, I'll go fill these in later, but again, I'm showing this so that you have a sense of what you might be able to get. Okay, let me go back to my deck here. And this really has to deal with the fact that I'm talking about Wacom tablets, right? The first comment, anyway. So Wacom still gives the best drawing experience. We talked that Huion and XP Pen are catching up, but those are the very newest Huion and XP Pens and the Pro models, okay? And so the eBay, you can find a lot of good deals on these tablets. Oh, let's see, Cube hasn't mentioned. My channel is Cube 3Us, everyone. But I don't upload as much, and I don't upload stuff going to details about tablets. Got it. Thanks for clarifying, Cube. I actually offered the XP501A guy $100 for the pen. That's the $700/$500 pen I mentioned a minute ago. But no response. It's been listed for 2 years now. For those of you who don't know, on Cube's Discord, we had a conversation about that pen. And I said $500 was too much. I would pay $300, even then, just because it is a very unique pen. Because we're talking about, let me just bring it up, actually, because I don't want to be mysterious. Let's see, eBay, XP501A. XP501A. And let's sort by price, but shipping highest first. Yeah, here it is. Look at this. Did he raise the price? In 202, notice it says designer pen. Okay. And it's the designer pen style. It's XP501A. And it says new and rare. And this is a special pen. Now, I believe the reason it's special pen, let's see if we can take a look at the photos here. It might be more obvious. Cube, can you correct me if I'm wrong? Is the reason it's unique is this body is actually metal? That's the reason, right? What? Hang on. The original price was $1,000. Whoa. Oh, I see. It was 1,000, then he discounted it to 800, and now it's 600. No way. Listen, I have made some crazy, foolish purchase decisions. There's no way I'm paying 600 or even 400 for this pen. If it included more, like what I was saying on the Discord is, if it was like gold plated and came with something, like maybe. Yeah, this one should be a 90s pen, Nick, because it's an Intuos 2. It's an Intuos 2 tablet, or Intuos 2 pen. But yeah, I mean, it's a special pen. It is rare, but it's not like it's made of gold. But that's the pen we are talking about. Okay, let's get back to this slide deck. So again, you wanted the best drawing experience. That'll color which specific models of tablets and pens. Another thing you want to be assured of, which we'll talk about in great detail, is driver support, right? You want to know, if you're buying an older tablet, how the driver situation is going to work, and if the current drivers still support it. With Wacom, we'll see there's some issues. This is one. Now, the next topic is, now a lot of these tablets do not come with pens. And even if they do come with a pen, you're going to drop or break that pen. So one of the considerations is replacement pens. You need to make sure that if you're going to buy a tablet, that it's easy to buy a replacement pen. And as tablets get older, you're going to find it harder and harder to find on eBay a tablet that comes with a pen. And number two, you're going to find it very hard to find replacement pens because they are not being manufactured. You're probably good for a Pro Pen 2, and there's probably still a warehouse full of grip pens, but earlier than that, it's going to get harder and harder. And we'll take a look at some of the wear issues and size issues. So again, this slide is old, and you might see a few errors in thinking, but in terms of my knowledge of drawing tablets that are expressed in the slides. But again, this deck was covering professional ones, and we covered what these are, and you can kind of tell by the name which ones are the Pro tablets for Wacom. And as I always say, you should know the exact tablet model number, otherwise you'll buy the wrong one. Here's a list of the tablet numbers. This may be a little incomplete. Let's see. Okay, so for Intuos Pro, I would say that, and now this is, again, 2002, things have shifted. Okay, let's just start bottom to top. Honestly, even though I buy them for a collection. I do not recommend anyone buy an Intuos 1 or an Intuos 2. Those tablets just aren't useful in the modern world. Will they work? Sure. I just don't recommend you do that, okay? And it'll be more obvious as I get into drivers why the situation is. Let's see. Cube has a comment. Yep, it is indeed aluminum. Okay, that's what the A stands for. Interesting. And it's a bit odd compared to KP501E since it has no eraser. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh, I guess that maybe even makes sense, right? Metal near the eraser coil would mess that up, I guess. Oh, Jerry, thanks for joining us. It's always fun to see old Wacom tech. Jerry says some of the designs are quite peculiar. Yes, indeed, indeed. It isn't uncommon for tablets. Cube says it is not uncommon for tablets to be entirely incorrectly listed as well. You need to know how it looks as well, especially how the different sizes look. Yes, yes. I'm glad you brought this up. Let me put that in my notes, which is incorrect listings. Let's take a brief diversion and talk about this. So in my Excel file, I bought 5 and 204 XL. Sorry, yeah, XL tablets. That was all deliberate. But for some reason, I have two in 202 9 by 11, 9 by 12 tablets. I did not mean to buy two of those tablets. What happened was I wanted to buy in 202 6 by 8. So I had a 9 by 12 already. I wanted to buy a 6 by 8, and I bought a 6 by 8. And you know what showed up at my doorstep? A 9 by 12. Now, I wasn't unhappy. I'm always happy to get another extra tablet, but that's not what I ordered. And I went back into the listing, and I looked. The listing clearly says in 206 6 by 8. And then I looked at the photos, and the photos show a tablet, which is the 9 by 12. So you have to be aware of this, right? So don't trust the model number on the eBay or wherever listing. Look at the photos, okay? And check the actual model number on the tablet. So now when I buy a new tablet from eBay, I am always looking at the photo, right? And I'm double checking because you can easily buy the wrong tablet. It's happened at least once to me. It may have happened twice. Now, I'm not super disturbed. I'm not paying a lot for some of these, so I just keep the extra tablet and I'm like, fine. But thank you, Cube, for mentioning that. It's definitely a thing to check out when you're purchasing on eBay. Nick says, I can understand why the art pen is so overpriced. It's rare, has unique tech. And the grip pen, yeah, for everyone, the unique tech is the barrel rotation. And grip pen tech is still good nowadays, but who needs ancient aluminum pen? It is just a collectible. I'm not getting it because it's superior in any way. It's just a collectible. Nizio Martin says the Intuos Pro Gen 1 and the Intuos 5 look almost the same. Did you think that? We'll take a look, but I didn't think they look similar. But we can compare. We can certainly compare. Looks like, Jerry, you ordered one pen and got the other one? Or a different one? Fortunately, I got my money back. Fantastic. And that's the other thing, just in general, people, I didn't quite realize this when I first started buying pens and tablets on eBay. Not everyone who's selling you, I don't know why this did not occur to me, not everyone who's selling you a tablet is a tablet aficionado. They may just have some tablet that, that has been in their house forever, or what they've gotten it through some other means. And so they're not experts. And someone may have just given them a box that says, it is this tablet, and they'll just follow along with that instruction. It's not malicious, but you have to be on guard. Glad to see you got your money back, though, Jerry. And Martin clarifies, aside from the buttons, I understand. Okay, let's get back to the deck here. So yeah, I don't get an Intuos 2 or an Intuos 1. Those are just two out of date, okay? Now, remember, this slide was made in 2022. Things have evolved. And I think we're going to modify this. So my 2022 advice was in 203 and 204, that's really for the adventurous people who are, at this stage, for anything below, for 204 and below, you're going to have to use an older driver. Most probably you're going to have to use the open tablet driver. And that's why I say it's for the adventurous, right? Now, I'm going to change this, right? I'm going to update this slide deck live and say this is 2025. And I'm going to change this. I would say right now, this should go up at least. And this, the adventurous category, should include Intuos 5. Okay? I think you're probably good here. Let me get the color. Oops. But I'd love the audience feedback here. Maybe I should be even more paranoid, and maybe I should include Intuos Pro 2013, because now it's over a decade, right? And I believe Wacom has now dropped driver support for those tablets. So I'll, if someone can confirm that, or we can check in a second. But probably, yeah, I'm going to be safe, actually, because this video, oops, is going to be around for a while. So I'd say just in terms of age, you're going to be a little more adventurous if you get a 2013 model. And again, it's because of the drivers, okay? So just keep that in mind. I think you should stick at something more recent. Now this is Wacom professional tablets. I think the story is very different with Huion and XP Pen, because Wacom has had the best drawing experience for decades. But that's relatively, let's see, Cube says. PTH X51 are still supported, but I wouldn't count on it sticking around for too long. Yeah, okay. Got it. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's going to get dropped. Because it's just hitting that sort of, it's dancing around that 10-year time frame. Don't get me wrong, it's a great tablet. Now, the next slide is really which tablets I own. Now, this is way out of date. I'm going to update this, but right now, I'm going to take a quick guess at this list. And I'm going to tell you, I believe, if I had to color this correctly, I believe I have in red, oops, not that color. Let's color this here. I'm pretty sure I have every tablet here that's listed in red. And there may be some variants also. But yeah, it's a pretty complete collection in terms of Intuos Pro tablets. I sent, Nizio/Martin says, I sent a comparison between Intuos 5 and Pro on the live React channel. Someone could sell Intuos Pro as, yes, that's absolutely right. And someone could buy it by mistake. Yes. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Okay, here's the Intuos 5. And let me hide my face. Yeah, this, for all, if you were quickly looking at this tablet, you would be, unless you were careful, you would think it is the Intuos Pro 2013. They look very similar, right? The only distinctive quality is these buttons. These buttons are sort of physically separate things. On the Intuos 5, the buttons are covered by this rubber surface, which breaks down, by the way, over time. But yeah, they look very, very similar. And on that topic, remember, the first Intuos Pro was called Intuos Pro. They never called it Intuos Pro 13 until the Intuos Pro 2017 model came around. So there are tons of people selling an Intuos Pro, but they don't know what year it is. And they may have the wrong year in their head. They may say it's 2017, but it's actually 2013. You got to use the model numbers, and Nizio raises another great point here. It can be doubly confusing because both these tablets use the same grip pen, right? Very confusing. You've got to use the model number and a photo of the actual tablet to figure this out. You've got to do that. Thank you, Martin/Nizio. Okay, let me scroll down. I just want to talk about some of the core features here of these used tablets. And again, this is an older deck, and I think this is actually even before I met up with the crew on Cube server. So there are probably some things here either out of date or potentially even incorrect. So core features. So the point of this slide, and these blue sections are notes to myself. The point of these features is really things have been very static, okay? Now, tilt hasn't really changed. Lines per inch has improved, but it's really been excellent since in 2003. Even if it was 2000 today, you wouldn't notice the difference. Pressure levels, as I'll repeat during every stream, you only need 2000. So the fact that one goes to 8000 is irrelevant. They've all had great pressure levels, so these are Wacom professional tablets have had a great experience. Again, I'll bet money I could give you a tablet. Like I could force your tablet to use 1024 levels of pressure, and I guarantee 99% of you would not be able to tell the difference, right? And there's some evidence we have that shows this, which maybe I'll get to a little bit later. Let's see, and Dizio says, and they have the same color, yes. Cube says, it isn't uncommon to see tablets sold with the non-default pen as well. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's worth looking out for. Fantastic point. I think I have had that happen one time. I think I've had it one time. It was a good thing, actually. So it was an Intuos Pro 2013, I think. I expected the grip pen, but I got the art pen. But I was okay with that because the art pen is more expensive and rare, and I just got a better pen and I was super happy with it. But fantastic too, to mention. And occasionally they can be sold to incompatible pens. Yeah, I could easily see how that would happen. I have never personally had that happen to me, but yeah, it would be easy for someone who had, you know, a box of Wacoms and they just pick up the wrong pen. They wouldn't know, right? Flame mentions pen pressure is low-key becoming a scam. Well, pen pressure levels are, I really don't even think, sorry, let me back up. I'm entering 7 pens rant mode. I'm trying to prevent myself. I'm getting, you know how Bruce Banner gets angry and he hulks out? That's like me when I get upset about a tablet. I'm like, or Wacom naming policies. I start hulking out. Yeah, pen pressure levels are long since the point of discussion. I don't like saying, oh, now it's 16 levels. I try to make fun of that as much as I can, okay? Arch, thanks for joining us. It's weird, most OEMs don't really advertise their pressure curve, mostly only the levels. Yeah, there's, just to be specific, when I use the word curve, I'm talking about the user-controlled curve. And I think when you're using the word curve, you're talking about the pressure response. I use the word pressure response to indicate that's what the hardware of the pen actually does, though it is also, in essence, a curve. I just found it difficult to talk about these kind of curves do this, these kind of curves do this. So the hardware curve is what I call pressure response. But yeah, I wish they would talk about it, right? Nizio says, Martin says, imagine buying a grip pen and getting an art pen, and then you wake up. Yeah, and but it was what a pleasant, what a dream that would be. Yeah, I am getting thirsty. Let's see. Cube says, I bought a GD0405U. It's shipped with a random pen from Genius branded tablet. Oh, not even a Wacom pen? But after prodding, the seller found the correct pen and sent it to me. So, okay, I think from this, definitely we should harp on the fact that you should verify the pen for a used tablet. It's got to be one of the tests you provide, or the tests that you do. I can see Flame says, I can see Pro tablets being worthy of buying used, but what about the consumer tablets? We'll talk about that. Let me make sure we talk about that. I'll put that in the notes. Pro versus consumer. And let me capture pen. Let's see, I'll call it included pen. Maybe wrong pen. Maybe even from wrong brand. Contact the seller immediately. Fantastic. Thanks for bringing that up, Cube. Oh, it's a good point. I think there's a meta point here, like the images may be wrong, right? Yeah, that's a good point. There's a little bit of paranoia we need to have. The images seller's post may be wrong. Even though that's never happened to me, it's easily possible, especially with pens which are, they don't look very different, okay? Okay, so we'll get, Flame, we'll get back to Pro versus consumer tablets in a second. Let's see. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say here is pressure levels and lines per inch are not a good, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about that with any modern tablet. For Wacom professional tablets, you don't even need to worry about it for any of them, right? And again, even if you're buying an Intuos 3, trust me, it's nothing that's going to make any difference in your life, right? You'll be able to draw just as well with any of these tablets, right? The reason I don't recommend getting Intuos 3 and 5, is because you'll have to deal with driver issues. That's the issue, okay? There's some non-core features that I think you should just be aware of. So erasers on pen, the Intuos Pro series or Wacom Pro tablets in general have erasers on their Pro pens. Express keys, they've gone, we see that they've added express keys to their Pro tablets. They've just removed them, right? But you should know if you really want them. I would say that in terms of erasers and express keys, I have never found a pen that I bought used where the express keys or the, eraser didn't work, but it's a thing you should verify with the buyer, okay? Touch, look, some people love touch. I don't think touch has ever worked great on a Wacom pen tablet. They work much better on pen displays for some reason. So I don't think it's a good reason to pick an older tablet, but just be aware, a lot of the older tablets just do not have touch at all. Wireless, the older tablets also did not tend to have any wireless support. That may not matter to you, but you'll have to double check it. Remember that it may not be obvious visually, so you're going to have to ask the seller and verify the model number. Okay, reliability. Okay. So the technology itself, EMR, is super reliable. There's nothing like fundamental about the technology which is just weird. The tablets in the tablet, right? It's literally a printed circuit board surrounded by plastic. What is the weakest point on a tablet? Probably the ports and express keys, because the port is subject to physical force. They can get loose, though it's very rare for an Intuos Pro to have that problem. Express keys could get banged around. I've never actually encountered that problem in any of the pen tablets I bought used. So in general, these pen tablets are, even if they're Huion or XP Pen, and they don't have screens, they don't fail, right? Now, where the problems come in are with the pens, because the pen has moving parts. There's a nib, erasers, and of course the buttons. The most important thing here is that inside the pen, it can be delicate. And I'm going to do something that it scares me every time I do it, so I'm going to be careful. I see my camera's in here. You don't want to drop the pen on the desk, okay? Like this kind of, I'm catching it with my hand, and even then it's a bit scary. People have dropped these like on carpet, which should be soft, and inside there's a little ferrite rod. It breaks. Once that rod breaks, it's over. I think the success rate of people gluing those pieces together is low, to say the least. So this is the delicate part. This is where you have got to be sure if you're going to get a used tablet. I honestly recommend you just get a spare pen. Get 3, right? Because you don't know how long these pens are going to be around. If you're probably safe again with a grip pen and a Pro Pen 2 or a Pro Pen 3, they'll be around for many years. But older pens, they're not going to last. They're going to last, but if you break them or lose them, you're going to have a real tough time. So get a spare. Okay, form factor. This is just showing you the size. I won't go too deep. You already know the different sizes in the pens, in the tablets. Let's see. Yeah, aspect ratios. Again, this is a note to myself, so let me talk about the aspect ratios. The older tablets tend to have 16 by 10, or sometimes very random aspect ratios. So be aware of that. You're going to have to use forced proportions. You should do it anyway. Another thing that you'll see in these older tablets from Wacom, they're really thick, right? Take a look, for example, at Intuos 3 to Intuos Pro 2017. Like some of these tablets, even though in general many of the common sizes were about 10 millimeters, some are like, over an inch thick, especially the extra large ones, right? So just be aware that they may not be as convenient to hold around. The new ones are really thin. I think the new Intuos Pro 2025 is what? It's a little bit thinner even. Is it like 6 or 7 millimeters compared to these being like 8 or 9? Cabling, oh yeah. This comes up. It's a surprising thing that happens. So the first thing, older tablets don't have removable cables. You can see that on the right. Most of these tablets, I think there's a couple of exceptions here. The USB cord is just attached. Now, some people think that makes them less reliable, easier to break. I've never had that problem, but you should just be aware of that. If you break the cable or the connector, you can't easily fix that. I'm sure if you knew about electronics, you'd be able to, but for a person like me, it'd be basically impossible. I need someone's help to do that. Now, the other thing that happens is, since Intuos 4, they've had ports, USB ports. However, get this, these tablets used mini USB ports. And just so people know what a mini USB port looks like, let's go find one, because there's micro USB and there's mini USB. So I need mini USB. Yeah, here's an example. Oh, how can I see this picture? Yeah, you should be able to see a bigger picture there. Why can't I open this picture up? Open image, new tab. This should work. Yeah, here we go. So it's this big, thick thing, right? And they are sometimes recessed pretty deeply. So if you get one of these tablets, you're going to have to make sure it comes with a special cord. I have not seen also adapters from mini USB to USB-C. So be aware. Some other Wacom tablets also, they don't use mini USB. They use, micro USB. You can find adapters for those. It wasn't until Intuos Pro 2017 that USB-C ports started becoming the norm. So be aware. Let's see, pens. Okay, wear and tear. Okay, let me take a brief pause as I drink. And I just got a notification on something, so let me check my phone. Okay, great. Okay, wear and tear. This is the difficult part, okay? So, first thing is, any pen tablet you see is going to have some amount of wear. Though surprisingly, lots of them on eBay are essentially brand new and the surfaces are pristine. But when you buy a used tablet, you really need to pay attention to the wear and tear on the surface. The buttons don't matter. The back doesn't matter. The side, the edges do not matter. On the active area, you got to pay attention, okay? And just as an example, a seller, something could be scratched up. I'm going to use my phone as a tablet for a second. Actually, why don't I use an actual tablet? There can be a lot of scratches on a tablet. I don't know why, but there's an avocado sitting on my desk. Maybe I wanted to eat this later. I don't know how this got here. Strange. Mysterious avocados appearing. So here's a tablet. It can have a scratched up surface. You can see it. This is not actually scratched up, but you can see examples. I'll show you in a second. And the seller, even yourself, your finger can't pick up the scratches. You might see them, can't feel it at all. But when you move your pen can see the scratches. And when I see, what I mean by is, the scratches can deflect the pen, actually physically move the pen enough that your lines will not be straight. Okay, so it is very, very important to verify the surface texture, okay? And you can actually hear the texture in some of these cases where you'll hear it sort of, almost like you're driving a car and you hit a pothole. That's what happens. It doesn't mean you have to be hyper paranoid. Like lots of tiny scratches just cannot be felt or barely or even seen and not even felt by the pen. Let's take an example. Let's find some pens or some tablets and let's just take a look at what you can actually expect on eBay. So let's get there. It's so easy to see these two. Let's see, use Wacom Intuos Pro. Medium. I'm picking these because you can tend to see the scratches pretty easily. Let me find an example. I'll just randomly pick this one, see if we can zoom in. Actually, I already have some examples here, so let's just find that wear, surface wear. Oops, there's some comments I have missed. Maybe we should call the user ones post-processing curves. I like that suggestion, Arch. Post-processing curves. I mean, the challenge with using my own terminology or any terminology that isn't pressure curve is that it'll help my videos, though, obviously in the user manual and the driver, that phrase isn't seen. But I think I like it. I like your suggestion because it hints at where it's applied. I like that quite a bit. Jerry asks, or come to think of it, how does Linux handle Wacom drivers? Nizio says using felt nibs can help disperse the force of a fall. I hadn't thought about that. I could believe it. The thing with felt nibs is I've had twice a felt nib like this happen. Now, nothing bad happened to the pen, but the felt nib, which is really not felt, it's really a plastic, it fractured in a funny way. It sort of developed almost like a broken bone that has been set, but not quite correctly. It developed like this weird scar. That's the fracture I'm talking about. So I could believe that it would reduce the chances of something weird happen, but I wouldn't bet on it. Jerry says, my pens are super delicate. My S Pen fell off my desk once, and the IAF became noticeably higher. Yeah, it's a very common occurrence. I knew one poor soul on the Wacom subreddit. His Pro Pen 2 had fallen off his desk, like 3 different pens had fallen onto carpet, and each time the ferrite rod had broken. So it's a permanent, destruction of the pen. I was surprised because you think carpet would not cause that, but in some cases it does. Mini USB from the times of Aristotle. Yeah, it was. These were old. These are old. Wait, what? Q was revealing something to me. There's also 3 versions of mini USB: A, B, and AB. Oh, I didn't even know that. Let's see, A and B and AB all work with mini USB A ports, but only B and AB work with mini USB B ports. I had no idea. Let's see, Arch. I think a lot of people aren't even aware that EMR pens aren't linear. I sure assume they're linear, or at least they follow software, but probably needs reiterating for newbies. Yeah, you're right, Arch. I think you're 100% right. I will say this, what you say about your own experience was my own experience. Until I started measuring back in, 2023, I 100% thought that the pressure curve that you see in the driver described the actual physical behavior of the pen. And just visually, of course, it is linear by default. So I thought, oh, the pens behave linearly. It took me a lot of experimenting to figure out what's actually happening. And as far as I can tell, no tablet brand in no documentation has explained this, that the pen has its own behavior and the pressure curve is not describing what the pen's doing. I love your term, post-processing it. I did a 5 or 6 part series on pen pressure, starting in 2024 or 2023. However, that series was really geared toward people who wanted to go deep and be technical. I think I need to do, based on your suggestion, I think I need to do a more beginner-friendly video talking about pressure curves and post-processing curves. 100%, I believe, 99.9% of people do not know this difference. So I will try to do some content on that. And again, that's because the content I did already produce is kind of, it's not geared for just a person who wants to pick this up very quickly. It's kind of geared for someone who wants to really geek out on tablets. And really, lots of people don't want to geek out on tablets. They just want to draw. So I need to address that audience too. Okay, I'm going to find examples of surface work. I want you to see it. You can find a ton on eBay like this, but let's see. I have some examples here. I know I do. Yeah, here's an example, actually. You can see a few light scratches. Now, I can't feel these, okay? Though, if you look through a microscope, you can just barely make these out. Do you see here? These are so fine, you can't feel them through the pen or with your finger, certainly. They're super tiny, like you can see the scale. Each tick is a millimeter. These have got to be, I guess 1/100th of a millimeter. So you just don't feel these, even though they glint and light and they can look bigger than they are. Now this is an example of a real scratch. This is probably, I'm going to guess, 1/10th of a millimeter, maybe 15/100ths of a millimeter. Sorry, not 10th. I mean, 1/10th of a millimeter, maybe 20th of a millimeter. These can be felt through the pen for sure. You might not be able to pick them up through the fingers, okay? And then, of course, there's extreme damage like this. This is a gash, like I've dug out. This white is just an effect of how the plastic is deformed. This is about, you can see, it's a total length of 4 millimeters, a width of about 1 millimeter on average for this main part. I'm not sure how deep it is, but this was the result of a scissors. Don't ask me why I was holding a scissors up like this with a sharp end pointing down over my tablet. But of course, what happens when 7-pence holds the scissors like this? Butterfingers, they drop. So the sharp end of the scissors, and they were sharp, and hit and gouge this out. Now this is rare, but you got to look for things like this. Let's see, Cube has a comment. Not just drivers admit that the curve is post-processing, but some Wacom manuals actually say that the curve does match even when it doesn't. Really? That's so crazy. And they should know better, obviously. Let's see, a few more comments. Arch, the reason I say this is because linear is usually considered good. A lot of people will avoid changing the post-processing curve thinking it's already linear when it's really not, right? And the thing I always say about these linear pressure curves, it doesn't mean it's linear. I know it is visually linear. The way I try to interpret that for artists is that shape means not linear, but do nothing. It means it's not doing anything. It's doing no post-processing. I love your suggestion of post-processing. The takeaway is they need adjustment, yes. And many consumer ones do, which have a relatively low peak force. There's a high slope near zero. Listen, every pen I've tested has a high slope near zero. Consumer pens are just probably, the problem's more exacerbated because they tend to have lower pressure range. Maybe the marketing and user support people don't know. Yeah, I could believe that. They probably don't communicate as well as they should, which is sad. Okay, let me show you. Oh, shit, I closed everything. Thanks, Windows. This is a more example. These are scratches. Here's another example on 2OS Pro. This isn't a scratch, actually. I'm going to zoom in on this. Here's another example. You may notice they're not bright. They can, but they tend to often look darker. And here's some examples. So there's bumpiness, right? Texture on these surfaces. You can also get this effect where you kind of drawing smooths it out. It's not perfectly smooth, but if you drew your pen across the surface, you'll feel smooth. You'll actually hear it, right? You can see a lot of this in used tablets. This is what it looks like. Zoomed up, this is about 1/10 of a millimeter. This dark line here is just pressing hard with the pen can wear it down. So this is the kind of stuff you'll see. This is me deliberately doing it as well. Oh, there's some examples of texture erosion. Yeah, here's a great one. Here we go. Right? Lots of people draw in the middle of their tablet, and you can see this. Now, visually, you want to I'd be very careful with tablets like this. However, Wacom and 2OS Pro tablets have texture sheets. So they may be hard to find and buy, but the texture sheet you can just get one that's messed up and replace it with a texture sheet, or even cover it with another protective surface. So there are some options for you, but in general, unless you know there's a texture sheet available, avoid anything that's scratched up. Okay, Cube has a comment. Sent a screenshot from the manual about pressure in the Wacom driver if you're in your Discord. Yeah, let's take a look, absolutely. Let's take a look. XD series driver. Okay, let me hide my face. Use these controls to manually change the pressure curve shape. Click force. It's interesting their language too. What they call tip force, I call physical pressure. What they call reported pressure, I call logical pressure. I can see the advantage of their phrasing here for reported pressure, what the computer thinks you're doing. Test the results, okay. What is this thing on the right? Oh, interesting. I never knew they had this option where they'd help you identify the maximum force. That's very interesting. Huh. Oh, they call the pressure dead zone the click force. That kind of makes sense. Yeah, interesting. That's, I guess, in our Discord's queue, we tend to think of it with different terminology, but it does make sense they say the word click force. You know what? Also, click force also sounds like like a spin-off group of the Avengers, right? I could see that. Like instead of Hawkeye with the arrows, it's like, Pro Pen 2 nibs, or am I going a little crazy? 7 pens, I get to play the role of Hulk, except it's like a maroon colored Hulk. That just gets angry when people bring up Wacom naming. What else is here? Click force. I love that, click force. I love that phrase. I think there's a lot of potential there for a superhero team. Enter value from 1 to 5 for drag click force. Okay, interesting. You can actually manually set the number by typing. For optimal performance in graphics applications, set the click force and maximum tip force at the same value. I'm trying to parse what the sentence means. What is it? Okay. I mean, I think I understand this should be where the click registers. I guess I'm confused about the situation where the click force and the minimum tip force are the same value. Sorry, when these values are different, when they're not both 5, what's the implication? Like what would happen there? Would it register? Oh, maybe it means like the pen would register pressure but not click? Is that what that would mean? I'd never even considered that would be a thing. Fascinating. See anything else here? It lets you draw a bit and automatically sets the max on the curve to the hardest you pressed. I see. It's just another. Got it. It's another place to draw. That I guess I'm surprised they removed it, but I can understand it also because, like, effectively there are 2 places to draw. I can understand that. Okay, let's see. Oops, clicked the wrong thing here. Let's scroll down. Oh, there we go. Wow. I mean, I can be honest with you, I love this. Like the engineer in me loves the fact that they talk about it this way, that you can configure it with these numbers. It's kind of like shows you the technology. The UX designer in me says, okay, I can understand why they changed it, because this is a lot to absorb for an artist. Interesting. Okay, I think you're confirming. You can send pressure without sending a click, which may be weird. Or if you put the click force below the minimum pressure, that would send pressure without the click. Got it. Okay. So based on your comments, I think I correctly understood the difference. CSP has some sort of auto pressure curve thing that does similar for helping set the max and some other magic. Yeah, it does. That's right. I totally forgot about that. I've always was confused by Clip Studio's behavior there. I felt it got in the way. I felt like it was too much that it talked about that thing. I also felt like it was like too easy to accidentally set for some reason. Art says, you know your software is legit if it has edge shadows and chamfers. What do they call this UI? I think we just called it like the 3D look or something. Yeah, this is old style, isn't it? I kind of miss it though. I definitely miss it. Okay, hang on. Let's get back to the PowerPoint. Thanks, Cube, for helping us drill into that. It's the first time I have seen that, actually. Let's see. Yeah, I talked about the texture sheet. If it's an Intuos Pro, not all of them do, but some support a texture sheet. That's when you can buy a used-up surface or a worn-down surface. And I think there's also, you can buy some plastic sheets and just tape them over, and those will work too. You just got to make sure those aren't going to wear down your nibs, right? And there's certain plastics that'll work others. Here's an example of those texture sheets, right? They're not cheap. So, you know, if you paid $100 for your tablet and then you have to replace the texture sheet with another one, if you can find one, it's going to add to the cost because the sheets are not cheap either, even when buying used. Let's see, pens. Yeah, this is just a diagram I made to help show you about pen compatibility. You got to know the exact pens you're getting and which ones are compatible. Lots of times I'll see people get an old tablet and they try to buy a new pen, or they have a new, you know, and it just doesn't work, and they don't realize that. So this is just to show you how the compatibility has evolved. Basically, since 2017, these tablets have the more wide compatibility with older pens. So, for example, the 2017 models are compatible with pens that came out with the 2013 models. And this is what happens when in Wacom, and a similar thing will happen probably with Huion. They'll just tell you, actually, let me retract that statement. You see this with Wacom, it'll just tell you the pen is not compatible. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you what the model number of the pen is, so that's really a little inconvenient. And with this, I'm glad they said this message. With Huion and XP Pen, normally you don't get a message. You just get the pen doesn't work or only works partially. Like you might get detection of position, but not pressure. Okay, drivers is where we get the real issues of interest here. So they're dropping drivers over time. So you want to be very careful of that. Do be aware there might be some discrepancies with Mac and Windows, though Wacom tends to keep it very similar, but the numbers are a little different. You can see that here. And again, this was the latest drivers. This was as of 2022 for the more modern tablets. Situation has changed a little bit. One thing I think is still true is Wacom supports the Intuos 4 XL with the latest drivers. This may have changed, but they seem to be giving a longer lifespan for the Intuos 4 XL tablets. This is just where my information was collected. Okay, so that was the slides from the video. Let's take a look at the document. And Cube points out, I'll need to update this driver support list. Yeah, I definitely will. I definitely will. Let me go back to buying used. And again, this document was written like a year or two after I made the video. So let's just take a look at any topics I want to update here. Okay, the first is, I talked about pen tablets, but we have to talk about the different types of tablets. So I said already pen tablets are more reliable, so they're great candidates for buying used. Pen displays, at the time I had bought one, now I'd bought three. I think, to be honest, I'm still a little leery of buying a pen display used because they are more fragile devices. And as we go down to this list, we'll see that they suffer from some things more than a pen tablet, right? Pen computers, now at the time, and still, I have not bought any used pen computers, though I have many pen computers now. I generally don't I should make sure I'm clear on what pen computer is. A Samsung Galaxy Tab S series tablet is not a pen computer. That's a mobile device that supports a pen. That's fine. Apple iPad, that's not a pen computer. That's a mobile device that supports a pen. A pen computer is like the Wacom Mobile Studio Pro or the Canvas Studio, Huion Canvas Studio. These are built by drawing tablet manufacturers, intended primarily to be used as a drawing tablet. I don't recommend you get them. I think they're not upgradable. They are super expensive to repair. I think they're bad choices to buy new. I think they're absolutely disastrous choices to buy used. Okay, Art says, oh, Open Tablet Driver may come to the rescue in case of some models. Yeah, and we will get into that. Absolutely it will. Cube says, give a quick check. While PTK 1240 is not listed as unsupported, like the other PTK X40s, its driver has not been updated since 2023, so it's effectively unsupported now. But Cube, let me make sure I understand. You're saying that, but the most recent Wacom driver still supports it, right? I mean, I can test it out, but I just wanted to make sure I understood. Or possibly in maintenance only mode, where we won't get any features for latest drivers. Interesting. Okay, I will double check myself as well. Okay. Now I talked, the next general talk about age is, these are tablets that are old. And we're going to get into a section on older tablets, but the age comes up quite a bit. I'll cover that in the older tablet section. Okay, older tablet drivers. Okay, so roughly speaking, if you're getting a news, actually, I'll go back. I'll cover this as part of older tablets. We covered older Wacoms. Okay, just another tip about buying used. Definitely verify what you're getting in the box. Cube mentioned some don't come with the right pen, or they don't come with a pen. They may not come with things you expect, like the stand or a glove or a pen stand. Just double check on all these things, okay? Oh, and this is a discovery I made through a bunch of tablets. Now, I like my tablets clean, but some of these tablets are absolutely filthy. There's so much, not just dust, some of these are packed with grime. What is the grime? Human skin cells, oil from human skin, hair, food. I mean, some of these tablets have absolutely turned my stomach when I've gotten them, okay? Some of them had stickers attached that you want to carefully remove. Some of them have, and the adhesive of the stickers, or even if the stickers aren't there anymore, they're still sticky, right? So you may want to just take a look at the photos or ask the seller about how clean it is. I will say, again, I don't want to touch other people's human skin cells, like from strange people. So whenever I get a tablet, I'm very careful, and I just look very carefully at every nook and cranny, and I clean it out incredibly carefully. I don't have really terrific cleaning tools, but I bought a little, what would you call it? Almost like, yeah, it was like something you would use to like scrape tartar off teeth, because it's a very sharp edge. It's sharp, you have to be careful with it, because you can actually scratch the tablet. Trust me, I know. And I carefully remove things as if I was cleaning teeth like a dental hygienist. So this is a thing you have to be prepared for, a really filthy used tablet. Let's see, Cube says the release notes for the latest driver do not indicate supporting PTK 1240. Really? Oh, okay. I'll test it out, but that's interesting. If they've dropped the model number, then that says a lot to me. I'm sad, that's the last big extra large tablet Wacom had going. Nick is back. Let me take a drink. Speaking of pen displays, especially the one and only Cintiq Pro 24, Have you researched the problem of overheating and active cooling fan noise? I don't have the Cintiq Pro 24, but I'm not sure. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure about overheating. The reports from the 24 have been mixed. I can find people on Reddit that swear. Okay, one more thing. Wacom at some point issued a driver update that let you control the fan speed of that device. And people sometimes aren't clear what they set the driver to or if they set the driver. On Reddit, I can find people who are driven crazy by the sound. They find it loud. I find people say they don't hear anything. So there's a lot of and I don't have that tablet myself. Maybe I should get one. It may not be a bad idea, actually, because it's such a popular tablet, the Cintiq Pro 24. And for everyone, Nick is talking about the older one. Because that might give me some basis for comparison with a new Cintiq 24. With the displays I've bought that I've tried, I haven't noticed any real problems with heat, but those weren't Cintiq Pros. Okay, so it's just I don't have the data to answer your question, Nick. Are there displays that have no issues with noise and fans? Yeah. There lots of XP Pen and Huion ones don't have fans. They don't make any noise, and they're perfect. I mean, they might get just slightly warmer than a Wacom Cintiq, but they're noiseless completely. And so used ones should be noise free as well. And Nick mentioned you can lower fan speed if you drop the brightness below 40. That's right. I totally forgot about that. All my modern Cintiq Pros, I actually run at 50% brightness because at 100% brightness, it's just too much. I cannot deal with it. I am very curious with the new Cintiqs they released. I talked about them last week in my stream. They don't have fans, and Wacom says they're able to keep cool. Let's see if that's true, right? I have an infrared camera for my phone, so we'll do some testing. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, I need to update this based on Cube's statement. The driver situation has evolved. Before you buy any used tablet, verify what drivers that work with it, right? Now, what if Wacom drivers aren't available? We'll talk about it when we get to older tablets in a minute. Okay, now, you're buying a tablet, you're getting any tablet, even if it's a new one. There's a section I'm going to talk about which is inspecting a tablet or asking someone to inspect it. This especially comes into play sometimes when you're buying a used tablet from someone who's selling in your town. So, you actually physically go and meet the person, you can see the tablet. There's some things you can do physically with the tablet, and we'll talk about it. Again, these are things you can do with a new tablet as well. Art says 16 Gen 2 doesn't get hot and is passively cooled. Yeah, it is. And it does not get hot, exactly right. So Gen 3 should be similar. Yeah, I don't even know if any Huion or XP Pens have fans. Okay, and then buying online, I talked about. I buy my tablets on eBay just because they're the first company I think of for buying tablets. I think there are other online stores, maybe in different countries, other geolocations where you can buy tablets. I don't have any experience with them. What I can say about eBay is I've had pretty good success, except for that one $500 or $600 tablet, which was junk. Let me take a drink. One thing to realize is Wacom, Huion, and XP Pen actually have stores on eBay. Let's click on them and visit one of them. So this is Wacom's official store. Now they sell both used and new on eBay and refurbished, right? So refurbished is an option. I have never bought a refurbished tablet, but if it's from the manufacturer and it's from Wacom, I feel comfortable doing so. But they won't be as inexpensive as just a new, used one. But if you're not sure about eBay, and you're not sure about the seller, try Wacom's official store on eBay. And likewise, Huion has a store on eBay. right? And so again, the prices won't be as inexpensive, and they do have used and new and refurbished. So check them out. Check them out. And XP Pen does. I don't know if any others do, but yeah, I just want to make sure you know that you can get from. Okay, Cube says Chinese manufacturers often have official AliExpress stores. Not sure what XP Pen. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I've never used AliExpress. Okay, I'm gonna need to get some more ice and water, so I'm gonna take just a quick break, not a bio break, a water break, and I'll be right back, okay? Just gonna get some water and be back in just a minute. Okay, thanks for your patience. I am back. Let's take a look at the comments. Let's see, I think I left at Nick says XGPen has its store in AliExpress. Okay, I'll add that to the list. And Art says Huion has an AliExpress store. And oh, you buy accessories and pens from there. As a side note, Art says I find it weird Huion's official store in Australia advertises really old models like they're new or top of the line. Yes, yes. Like the GT 221 Pro is the first one that is under pen displays. You know what? Now that you mention it, Arch, that is, in fact, that's actually a fantastic point, which is the selection, like old and new tablets are mixed together. So be careful in picking, right? And in general, I always say, in general, pick a more modern tablet. Old tablets, anyone buying a tablet more than 10 years, that should be for like, I don't know, people like Cube or myself or Tablet Kitten maybe, like, because we're into this, right? A normal person should not be buying a 10-year-old tablet. I would not recommend that. If you're an artist and you just want to paint and draw, play it safe. Play it safe. Nick says, I'm wondering if Japan has their analog of eBay. Probably Japanese market is the biggest for used Wacoms. I think it does, if I recall. I forgot what the name of it was. Or either I'm hallucinating or I thought is it Mercury? Was it something like that? Or am I not understanding? Or mispronouncing? Somehow I've landed at 2019 Huion. Oh, there's a specific 2019 store? Interesting. Oh, like it's like an old store, is that what I'm understanding, Arch? It's still a bit weird how difficult it is to find the right official store and why new stuff isn't front and center. Okay, so that's actually a great point. Like finding the right store. That's actually finding the right store. And then someone else mentioned some AliExpress stores. And our Wingo S7 says Yahoo Japan auctions. Okay, that's another option here. Yahoo Japan auctions. What is that place I am thinking about? Arch, Canvas 16 being better than Canvas 16 Pro is a real problem. Yeah, we discussed Pro. Okay, we've got to put this down in the notes here, which is don't be misled by Pro. That's a good tip. Okay, and then let me get back to the document. Not that. Where is it? Where am I? Not this. Cabling. We talked about different ports and cables. Okay. Let me double check now my notes to see any other topics for used. We will discover more, but we're not even halfway done because many of the topics for used are actually included as part of the older tablet topic. So let's just check if there's anything here that I skipped without intending to. Okay. So I've talked about the fundamentals of buying a used tablet, but we didn't finish it really because half of the information is really about buying an older tablet, which is what you really get when you buy a used tablet often. So let's take a look at the next section, which is buying an older tablet. So you saw from, when I started the stream, I listed my inventory. You know exactly how many tablets I have and how old they are, and some are decades old, right? The oldest one is from 1987. And I used one live in front of you. I used a tablet from 1996, something like that, right? And another one from like 2001. That's a basically a 25-year-old tablet. Now maybe, again, I wouldn't recommend you getting that old tablet, but regardless, they'll still all share some similar issues, right? Now, why do people have old tablets? They buy used tablets. That's one reason. The second is we get a lot of people who are, they get a tablet gifted to them, and that definitely comes up quite a bit. The other reason is they were younger, and then 10 years ago they were drawing a lot. Maybe this was their job, and they stopped doing it for whatever reason, and then they wake up one day and they want to get back into it, and here's a Wacom sitting in their closet for 10 years, and they want to use it again. Natural expectation. If the same thing was true for a mouse, you would expect to just take that mouse and plug it into your modern computer and it would work, and it will just work. Situation is more complicated with a drawing tablet. Okay, and we'll go over what those complications are. So, let us get to the doc for a second. The first thing really is, some of you are going to be new to tablets. You're going to have to install the drivers, tablet drivers, and there are issues, okay? Now, every time a tablet driver, let me get my face back up on here. Every time a tablet driver is updated, and I don't know, Wacom updates their drivers a couple of times a year. Same with Huion, right? Let's just say it's going to be 5 times a year, right? Or 4 times a year. There's a comment from Arch. A lot of people buy old gear because that's the model they know, and they aren't aware there's a better alternative. A bunch of industry basically rely on this. If I understand you, what you're saying, tell me if I'm wrong in interpreting your comment, Arch. You're just saying it is in their head an expectation they have based on experience that they just should buy older gear. For example, I think you named other industries, cameras, like Sony, Canon, that kind of thing. I think the ecosystem of buying cameras is filled with people buying used cameras. That's a big thing, right? And I think that thinking may bleed into other device categories. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so drivers, here's the reality. Any given driver has a range of tablets it supports. And when I say range, I'm talking about the specific models and the ages of those models. Now, let's start simply, right? We'll pick on Huion. Not pick, because I'm not going to say anything bad. Huion's current driver, actually Huion does make this confusing, so let's just get this straight. If you go to Huion's site and look at a certain tablet, it'll say, and you say, what's the driver? It'll say, driver 15.1. If you look at another tablet, it'll say 14.9 or 15.2, right? And when you see something like that, you would tend to believe that only that version works with that tablet. Actually, what often happens is for the latest version of a Huion driver will just work with all their tablets, even if it doesn't specifically say that. So for example, I have a lot of Huion tablets. I don't know, maybe I have 20 now. I always just use the same latest Huion driver and they work. And when I say the latest, I mean the very latest. And when I'm talking about tablets, keep in mind, I'm talking about Huion tablets since 2001, let's say. That's when they were created. I can't speak to a Huion tablet that was made in their old generation, like in, 2020. I can't speak to a tablet that was made in 2010, right? That's like an older technology. They had batteries in their pens and things. So Huion basically, if you install the latest, it'll just work with a huge set of their tablets. Now, I can't promise they work with all, but it's a huge set, okay? Now, the next thing is Wacom. Wacom has had a 40-year history. We know they've had at least 30 years in sort of tablets for, that you and I would buy. And they have a sliding window, okay? So basically, I mean, this is not exact, but think of it like this. Their window moves over time, or what is in the window moves. Basically, they'll support a tablet with drivers for 10 years. And on the 11th year, it's going to happen. You download the latest Wacom driver, and then it literally just says a message. This tablet is no longer compatible with this driver. And it's very mysterious because a lot of people think that their tablets broke, but actually it's Wacom deliberately creating an incompatibility. I don't blame them for this, as I discussed in a stream last week about support costs. It's very expensive. Was it support? Did I do that? Or something. Yeah, how to get help. I did a couple of weeks ago. It is very expensive to have customer support. It takes time to answer email. It takes a lot of time to have a phone call. It's expensive. So it's totally understandable that any manufacturer would say, hey, we're not going to help you with a tablet from 10 years ago. We've moved on. You need to move on too. I know it's irritating, but that is the truth, especially with Wacom. It's not intended as a criticism. It's just intended as reality. And if you realize how expensive it was for somebody to say, call you up in 2025 and say, hey, I bought a tablet from you in 1998 and I need your help on the phone to help me. It's like, come on. It's not realistic, okay? So that's their policy. Let me take a quick pause and check out some of the comments. Cube says, it reminds me of a YouTube video a bit ago where an artist said the Wacom MTE 450 is their favorite tablet, better than new ones, and recommending other people try it. And that's a very old one, if I recall. A very, very old one. Okay, Arch is clarifying his comment. I mean, if there's some proven model, then people tend to stick, I see. They stick to proven models. Although lots of releases from other manufacturers lately, so less of that in tablets. True. I think this is pretty true in mice, keyboards, game controllers. Plenty of people buying outdated stuff because everyone sells. Yeah, and now that you mention it, honestly, I'm a victim. Well, I'm not sure victim is the right word. I am one of these people as well. When I joined Microsoft in 1996, and there was a specific, I'm going to show it to you, hang on. Microsoft Ergo keyboard. Yeah, this thing. Let me show you. You see this keyboard? This was the new hotness back in, I don't know. I'm going to say this was 90s. It could have been 2000s, but let's just say 90s. I love this keyboard so much. I couldn't type. To this day, I still type better on this keyboard than any other keyboard. But I loved it so much. I bought 5 of them because they were about to go, Microsoft quit making them, of course. So I bought like 5 of them. Or it's one variation of this. I wasn't a fan of this direction keys here, up, down, left, right. But I kept buying these and I used them way longer than I had any reason to. And I don't even think this supported USB. I think it supported the old non-USB connectors. But I just got wrapped in the mindset. I would recommend people to get this. And over time I realized, okay, that's kind of a silly recommendation because people can't even plug them in anymore, and it looks pretty dated, and it was big as well. So yeah, Arch, I totally get your point that this is something people buy outdated stuff. I certainly was, and I was recommending this when it was out of date. I certainly don't do that anymore. Let's see, Nick Tyler. Let's see, he says checked out. Oops, that disappeared. checked out Japan. Yahoo Japan looks like used prices are the same as US today, US eBay. I thought maybe that they have some advantages on their homeland market due to taxes, export fees. I wonder what the cause is. I expected the same thing. It could be that the manufacturing is done in China, so it's not that big a difference as US. Do most people not search their tablet on the driver page to get the driver? Doing that always gets you the latest driver that works with the tablet. I think some people do. Okay, I think there's two ways to answer this. Some people do. With Wacom, it seems to work well. Let's just pick an example. Let's just do it for Huion and see. Actually, we'll do it for both, okay? Wacom. So in Wacom, it's under support. And I'm going to type in PTH 660 driver, right? So searching doesn't quite do it. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing, of course. When you just search like this, it shows you a bunch of articles. So this can be difficult. You have to go to drivers and downloads, and let's take a look. This is more for everyone just to see, because I want people to see this. If you look at the very latest driver, which was released actually only about 12 days ago, if I click on release notes and I go to compatible products, you can see the listing of tablets and model numbers is compatible with. And I think earlier Cube had mentioned no longer is the Intuos 4 XL listed here, which makes me sad. Now, if I go to, if I type in a specific model, will it show the latest? I think it will. Let's do this one. Yeah, it actually shows the very latest, which is good. With Huion, I think the experience is a little different, and XP Pen. Let's go there and verify. Remember, I always use the latest because it works, but if I go here, let's get support and download center. And honestly, I think Huion needs to improve this UI. It's a little confusing. Let's just do, what's a relatively recent, but not super, okay, Canvas Pro 19. Click, and then I have to go, I don't know why they even asked that question. Canvas Pro. Silly me. I gotta scroll and pick 19. Canvas Pro 19, there we go. Windows driver. Okay, here it seems like it picked the newest version. I have seen some cases, I think, let's just try one. Because I can verify this. Because I was using it. The HS611, that's a little bit of an older tablet. Okay, here we go. This is the example. HS611, it works with the latest Huion driver, but they recommend using this version, which is from 24 July, right? So this can be confusing for a lot of people. Now, there was two-parter I said to Cube's question. Lots of people search for the drivers. Lots of people have trouble finding the search page, believe it or not. And some people don't even think of searching. And they just go to Reddit and they ask. I don't blame them. If you went to, I'm going to pick on Wacom. If you went to the Wacom site and you saw this, where would you, let me hide my face for a second. Where would you click on to get a driver? Even I sometimes get lost here because it's not entirely clear to me I should pick on support. Logically it makes sense, but you wouldn't necessarily, a non-technical person who is not in the field of tech might not realize support would lead you to drivers, right? For some people find it obvious. I don't think it's obvious. Cintiq Pro 24 is around 1,000 USD in Japan. Interesting. What are those arrows? Which arrows did you mean, Nick? Sorry. Artists tend not to be very techie and gear junkies. This is Arch. Artists tend not to be very techie and gear junkie style people. We are the exceptions. We are. So a lot of people don't even know what their tablet is. That's true. That's true. The number of people who on Reddit say, I have a problem with my tablet, and have no clue what their tablet they're talking about, they might, they certainly don't know the model number, which is my first question. The other thing they don't even know the brand sometimes. Sometimes people say Xerox for any kind of photocopier or Kleenex for any kind of like tissue. I've seen people call any drawing tablet a Wacom, because in their mind, Wacom, that's what they do. Yeah, and this is exactly Q. I just saw Q's comment. It's quite common for people to think their tablet is a Wacom, just a Wacom. They don't know the model or series. They have no idea, right? And I am creating my video on how to get help, and this is one of the big topics I focus on, is find the model number, find the model number. Jerry, oh yeah, Wacom needs to change that because it took me a fair bit to even find the driver's page. It is very confusing, right? I personally think, because drivers is the first thing that should happen, is it should literally be, first of all, let's get back to the normal Wacom site. There should be a big glowing red button on fire here that says, tablet drivers or install tablet drivers or latest tablets, something super obvious. Now, let me tell you, I can speak from experience. I don't know the company Wacom. Like, I don't talk to them. I don't think they like me. No, I think I'm a pain in their side. But companies, the websites that are shown for a product are often built by the marketing team. Okay? And the marketing team doesn't want to talk about things like drivers. I'm not accusing Wacom's marketing team of doing this. I'm just saying, typically, marketing teams don't like to mention like the realities of using a product. They are trying to convey a story, right? And they're trying to appeal, which is why you get topics like enterprise education. Most of us are not in education. Some of you are students, I know that. But a lot of us are not teachers. We're not in the education system as providers of education. And very few of you work in an enterprise, which is a company like 500 or more people. But for a business, this is what you talk about. You talk in these terms like enterprise, education, public sector, that's governments. And drivers get relegated to support. Arch, I think people expect pen tablets without displays to be completely plug and play, like mice and keyboards are, which is not an unreasonable assumption. It's totally not an unreasonable assumption. I totally sympathize with that. And they're not even half wrong. They are technically half wrong, but let's just look through the numbers themselves. Windows comes with Windows P plug and play, PNP tablet drivers. They're not great, they're very limited, but they're there. They work especially better on pen displays than pen tablets. So in a sense, they're right, but those drivers are bad. They're not what you need. Mac OS has no tablet drivers built in, though they have mouse drivers. Chromebooks, I don't recommend Chromebooks for this reason. You can't install drivers. They do have drivers installed. However, they will work with a pen display. But with the Chromebook, they don't understand aspect ratios. So your tablets are they're always distorted. Latest Android 14 and 15 with specific pen tablets, they work and they don't have the distortion problem. They don't know how to use the buttons. They don't let you reconfigure the buttons, but they work, right? Let's see, Cube says Windows and Mac OS could really benefit from having some default decent drivers like Linux. Yes. I'm not a Linux person, folks, so I don't know how good the Linux support is, but I hear it's pretty good. And as far as I know, you can just plug in a Wacom and it will work. I think it even lets you configure the buttons on the pen and the express keys, but let me know, Cube or anyone else, if I'm wrong about that. I don't know, though, if they let you configure things like pressure curve, so I'm really curious if you can clarify that for me. Let's see, Nick, are you kidding me? Just turn your tablet around, read the model number, and Google drivers for. Google will find it for you. Well, let's try it. Let's just see if you go to Google, what actually happens. And really, I'm doing this because I'm curious about, you guessed it, AI. Okay, Wacom PTH 660 drive. Let's just see what they say. Or driver. Let me just spell it correctly. I don't want to be accused of misspelling. Okay, so it actually sent me to the right place with the right, with the right driver. Okay, cool. What else is listed? No AI? What about my buddy Bing? What does Bing say? Wacom Intuos. Sorry, I'll just say PTH 660. Driver. I thought I was going to get an AI summary. Okay, has a different sort of format, but it gets me there. But to be fair, I wish this was more optimized. I wish it would just tell you. Like, let me give you an example with, let's say Google. I'm hoping this is work. I really don't know if this is going to work. C# format string as date time. Okay, here's the AI answer. This is what I was hoping it would do. Oh, something went wrong. Thanks, Gemini. But, it sort of gave you a direct answer. And I was hoping, I'll just try it again. I was hoping the same thing would happen here. We'll give it one more chance. Right? I was hoping this is what we'd see for the drivers. So it would just say, it would say something like, the Wacom Intuos PTH 660 is the Wacom Intuos Pro 2017. The latest driver is this version. Here's the direct link to download. That's what I would have liked. Lots of artists are complete normies who don't know how to use computers at all. It's just how it is. I agree. We had a few designers not interested in tech, just doing design in Photoshop. Yeah, Photoshop is complex. If you know how to use it, your brain is sharp. But they may not be familiar with tech, right? And I think that's the point Arch is raising. Let's see. Cube says, you can configure almost everything with the Linux drivers, including pressure curve, and some desktop environments, KDE for example, have built-in GUI for tablet configuration. Okay. I'll try this out. I have, on one of my machines, I think I have Linux Mint. Hopefully that would be enough, and I'll try it out. Do the Linux drivers work for Wacom and Huion and XP Pen? And actually, now that I say that statement, I guess I'm not really sure how multiple brands are handled or if they're handled. And I don't suppose Open Tablet Driver is by default installed, is it? If you use a DE without tablet driver, it's GUI. It's very not user-friendly since it's running raw values of the tablet in the terminal. Okay. I love when the AI overview misinterprets a degree sign as 0 and says stuff like operating optimal operating temperature 800 Celsius. That's some optimal temperature. Wingo S7 says generative AI doesn't give you direct answers. It's simply predicting what it thinks and the most likely responses. Yes, I have to be honest. I know what you're saying. I get the concept that it's statistically moving through things, though to be fair, I'm not familiar with some of the advancements in AI that I don't know if they've shifted from that or adding other things to it, agentic things. But it's so good at that prediction of text that it can really fool you into doing clever things. I'll give you an example, just a personal example that's not related to drawing tablets for a second. I mentioned when the stream began that I speak just a tiny bit of Polish and a little bit, much more German. But I haven't done that in decades. And I actually, on my iPad, I installed Google Gemini, and I I'm trying to develop a curriculum so that it speaks to me just in German, but plays the role of a very patient teacher that knows I'm trying to learn, so that it'll say a sentence, one sentence, like it'll tell me a Märchen. Märchen means like a fairy tale, because it's kids stuff, right? And it'll tell me, tell me one line at a time, and then wait for me to think about it and ask a question about it, and then I may need to say it in English to give you the question, and no human being that you met would be so patient with you for hours. Now, again, I'm going back to this point, it's just predicting text. But it's so good at that it makes it feel super intelligent. Like, as far as I know, it didn't feel like it was predicting text. It was actually giving me good feedback. And like, I would ask it questions like, I'll just give an example. This is a real thing I said. I said, Guten Abend. And then I said, hey, I'm going to tell this to you in English. Are there better, more, or other ways that are better or more interesting where I can say Guten Abend? And I mixed English and German together. And it said, well, you can do this, and this might sound more formal, and this is more for, whatever. And that seemed really intelligent. Obviously, though, there's no brain there. Anyway, sorry, I know it's a rant, but I am really interested in AI in this sense, to help teach me a language and play that role of infinitely patient teacher that can work with me. Okay, let's go back to tablets. The Linux drivers do generally work for all brands, but it can require additional setup or configuration. Put my camera back on. For certain tablets. Okay, got it. Open tablet drivers pre-installed on at least one distro that I know of, but not widely. Okay. For some reason in my head I was thinking it was more widely installed. Arch, the problem with LLMs is, let's put my photo back on it. Arch says the problem with LLMs is they keep saying extremely untrue, sometimes dangerous or harmful things very confidently, and even gives reasoning for it sometimes. Yeah, it is. I did a stream on this about drawing tablets. It is awful when giving recommendations about drawing tablets or explaining how things work. It is falsifying so much. The only reason I'm like okay with it in German, and I'm still a little nervous, is that I speak German decently well enough that I feel like if something's unusual, I'll drill into it. It hasn't done anything unusual yet, but that is in the corner of my mind. Man, is it teaching me correct German or not? But yeah, it is very confident in what it says. You recently bought new Intuos Pro. What did they put in the box? Quick start guide? Yes, little quick start guide. Go this link and download drivers. I don't have the box with me, but yeah, a couple of things. I feel like with some of these Intuos Pros, when you plug them in, I don't know what triggers this, but sometimes they'll trigger some UI to launch to get you to download something. Like, I think there's actually some kind of storage on these tablets, these specific Intuos Pro models, because sometimes they actually read as mass storage devices. Now, it doesn't happen always, so that's why I can't figure out what's actually going on. I'm curious if Cube has any thoughts on that, because it happens so sporadically, I'm not sure of myself when I talk about it. But yeah, they're trying to get you to install the drivers. Jerry says, sometimes the AI can get the job done. It helped me build my keyboard Maestro macros, for example. Yeah, look, I was never, sorry, I didn't mean to tell this in the AI stream, but I was never super skeptical. I was super skeptical about AI. I was skeptical in the sense that, well, just like everyone, I see the hallucinations. I saw AI for real late in the middle of 2022, toward the end. Let's just say I was privy to a demo of OpenAI, what you call Copilot, okay? And I saw it, And I thought, wow, this stuff is amazing. This is before it went big time. I got a special demo, a secret demo. And it was amazing. I was amazed. Even then, you could tell it was like not, it would hallucinate a little bit, especially if it was a topic you talked about. But I was surprised. I have to say, it has exceeded my expectations on what it could do. Like the me learning German part's a great example. I really did not anticipate it could be so interactive with me. And when I'm doing it, I'm not writing. It's talking to me, like I'm hearing, right? So that's been wild. I didn't expect that. In a lot of ways, I'm going on my rant now, but I've never said this. In some sense, the idealization of using a computer was shown to us by an early American historical drama TV series. This historical drama presented average people, they were quite intelligent people, interacting with computers, yes, a little bit through keyboards, but largely through voice. And it seemed so fantastical that they could ask questions of the system and have it speak back things and do intelligent things. And the series I'm talking about is Star Trek: The Next Generation, the historical series. So to me, it feels like we're living in the set of Star Trek: Next Generation, because I was able to talk to a computer, and it really affected me. I was like, wow, this is the best thing ever. Maybe, you know what? I am scared to, I'm going to do it for you because I just never know what YouTube's going to do for copyright. There was Star Trek 4, which is called The Voyage Home. Captain Kirk and the crew returned to Earth, 1984, or something like that, 1987 Earth. And Scotty has to get something built with Earth technology in 1987, but he can't because he has no tools. So he goes to some manufacturing place, and he's introduced as a professor of something. And he had to work with a computer, which has a keyboard. And his first, he starts saying, "Computer, do this," and it does it. And the guy says, "Well, you don't do it that way." And he lifts up the mouse and he goes, "Computer, computer." He thinks it's a microphone. And it's a funny scene, but today it's totally like, oh, that is possible. That's actually how computers can work. Okay. Sorry, I am a Star Trek fan, but it really is, the future is here. Okay, sorry for that diversion. I apologize. Let's see. Okay, so we're back to drivers. We're going to use older drivers. So I said it'd be challenging to find them. And what happens, so here's the problem with older drivers. Number one, sometimes older drivers will work with your tablet, but they mess up when working with applications. So certain older Wacom drivers, the clicking of the buttons don't work with Photoshop correctly. So you're now in a dilemma. You've got tablet drivers that work on Windows 11, but they don't work with your application. And older drivers are subject to all sorts of problems. Like, every now and then Microsoft or Apple, they update their OS, mostly Apple, by the way, and the drivers that you have just break. Don't know why. They just start working. And you have to use the new one. And of course, you have the sliding window of compatibility with Wacom. So, yes, older driver might work for you. However, what happens when you don't have an older driver and it's just not compatible with your apps? You got to use Open Tablet Driver. So Open Tablet Driver is, now just for everyone knows, Cube is one of the developers of Open Tablet Driver. I am sort of affiliated with the product because I'm on their Discord, and I have tested certain things out for them because I have certain tablets they wanted me to test. It's a wonderful project. And and Cube, please correct me, it came out because people used OSU and they needed a higher performance driver. So they built an open source tablet driver, and that became Open Tablet Driver, okay? Now, the good thing about Open Tablet Driver is it works with a lot of drawing tablets, 200 plus. Not everything, 200 plus. It is skewed toward pen tablets and not pen displays, though we'll look at the list. And let me just explain to you why you should use it, okay? I'm not recommending you go jump out there and install it, because it does require some expertise. A normal person will need somebody to help them to use it. Before I get into that, let's just take a look at some of the feedback from Nick Tyler. AI expectations in 80s, we imagined in Blade Runner that after 2000 we'll have intelligent human like androids, but we got semi-automatic vacuum cleaners by now. Hey, I am hopeful we are close within 10 years. I mean, what's Elon? We've heard of this guy, right? Elon? Don't you love Elon? He had a falling out with the president. But Elon is promising some robot. Do I have that correct? And who knows? I didn't expect AI would be delivered like it is now. Maybe we will get an android that is more than a vacuum cleaner. I have plenty of things I need done that I could use a humanoid to do, like sweep the dust off, things like that, or drive me somewhere, do my shopping. I can say this: when we get actual human-looking robots, our economy is just going to be wiped out. It's going to mess things up. Okay, back to Open Tablet Driver. So again, I recommend you use the built-in tablet driver, the manufacturer-provided tablet driver, but there are reasons to use Open Tablet Driver. One is, of course, driver support has been dropped. The other thing is, honestly, I hate to say it, but sometimes manufactured tablet drivers have bugs, or they have buggy interactions with your operating system, and you can't fix them. You can't change them, right? There's some problems that you cannot pressure curve your way out of or configure your way out of. Another useful thing about using Open Tablet Driver is that sometimes there are problems with your tablet, and you're not sure if it's the pen, the tablet, or the operating system, and just trying Open Tablet Driver is it's a good diagnostic. Like, if something works with Open Tablet Driver but not with the Wacom driver, that really tells me the problem is with the Wacom, right? The Wacom driver. Art says, I had lots of issues using OTD, Open Tablet Driver, with Canvas 16 Gen 3, you mean, Art, or Gen 2? I just returned to the Huion driver. Yeah, I have not used it with displays, except maybe the Wacom 1 DTC 133. Things like Active not being correct without restarting the process. Interesting. Yeah, again, I think it's much better with pen tablets. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look at what Open Tablet Driver is and what can we learn from it. So it is available on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, and all the features are now available, like pressure, tilt, etc. Though it's a little more complex to set on Windows. Let's just go through the tablet list. Take a look at this. Right? I'll just scroll because it's a long-ass list. Look, they have a bunch of Gaumon, the brands here I've never even heard of. Ace Pen, Adesso, Gaumon, Genius, Huion, lots of Huions. Again, mostly pen tablets, but a decent amount of Canvas tablets, right? All the way, even I think the Canvas Pro 9, yeah, there it is, Canvas Pro 19. Notice that it says supported so explicitly. So a bunch of Huion tablets, Parblow, a few, UC Logic, a bunch of UGs, a few UGs, some Vikes, whole bunches of Wacoms, right? Walltop, Sense Labs, Zenks, XP Pen, a bunch of them. Actually, there's a much longer list than I remember, by the way. More Gaumons, some more Huions. Artisul, man, this is a long list, actually. Parblow, again, Vike. More Wacoms. Man, this list is getting crazy. Okay, you will notice it actually says some features are missing for some of these, right? Like touch. sort of more esoteric auxiliary inputs like touch bars are not supported. Buttons often are. But this may rescue you. I did a stream about Wacom Pro tablets, like 30-year history of them. And starting with 1996 versions on, I actually tested them with this very laptop. I was able to use them all with Open Tablet Driver. That goes to show you the power of this driver. Anyway, check it out. Now, again, on Windows, I wrote a very detailed installation guide. It is complex to install. I'm not going to lie to you. I know the Open Tablet Driver crew sometimes says, hey, you don't install it, which is technically true, but in a layman's sense, you install it. You have to put the bits on your computer. You do have to install the .NET runtime, potentially. You'll have to install something called vMulti, and some of them require another ZADIG, WinUSB. It's like, there's a lot of steps. And then you have to install some add-ins to deal with pressure curves. So it's not trivial. That's why I think if you're going to do it, you should be a more techie type person or get a techie type person to help. But this is the other reality if you can't use the built-in tablet drivers. You could use the Windows PNP drivers, but they're just not as good. Though they might work better for a, what do you call it? Pen display. Okay. Cabling. Yeah, I talked about this already. Yeah, so older tablets will work, but it's the driver issues that are really going to be the things that create some difficulties for people, okay? Hey, Koto's joined us. Thank you for joining us. And by the way, since I'm having so much fun, when I get done with the used and old tablets, I'll actually do a little bit of news updates as well. A couple of things I wanted to talk about. Let's see, using older. Let me go back to my notes to see if there's anything else I wanted to cover. Oh, inspecting. I don't think I covered inspecting. Yeah, okay. So this applies actually to any tablet, whether it's new or old or whatever, or if it's used or you purchased it new. Basically, there's a set of tests I like to recommend people doing, okay? And so let me just overview roughly thing. First is make sure you know what you're getting, okay? And the list, which is often called I'll remember it in a second. BOM. That's a Microsoft, it's not a Microsoft thing, but we say it at Microsoft all the time. The BOM, the BOM, is the bill of materials. In other words, that's our word or our phrase for saying what's all the list of things you're supposed to get, okay? So make sure it came with everything. Trust me, I have seen people get a new tablet and the pen's not there, or the cleaning cloth isn't there, or the nibs aren't there. It happens. What should you do if that happens? Immediately call or contact customer support. Now, of course, customer support is going to give you some questions. If you want to be super paranoid, but for this step or any other step, you might even want to consider the following, and I'm being completely honest about this. This could be for a new tablet or even for pre-owned tablets or whatever. Take a camera, meaning your phone, film yourself unboxing it and seeing what's there and trying it out. Because if your tablet doesn't work or it's scratched up and you call somebody who sold it to you, support or someone on eBay, what do you think the first instinct they will have is, well, you scratched it up and you broke it. So you want to make sure, hey, this thing just didn't work out of the box. So yeah, have I ever done that? No. Except when I did a live stream unboxing for you on this channel. But that's the most paranoid thing you can do, and it is not a bad idea. Maybe I'll do it one day and just show you what happens. So just verify you're getting what you think you're going to get, okay? As Cube mentioned, we can see that people make mistakes on eBay. They give you the wrong tablet. They give you the wrong pen. So lots of things can go wrong, okay? Now, another general thing I think you should do is just Let me bring this back up here. And let me take a quick drink. You've got to examine the screen carefully. With a used tablet, of course, you can only see photos, but you can ask the seller for clearer photos. Now, maybe you'll irritate them and they won't do it, but it's better they should be irritated and quit doing business with you than you buy the wrong thing. Now, what you want to see for both pen displays and pen tablets is you want to see where the scratches are and how deep they are, okay? And what you want to look for, whether, again, ask the seller or do this yourself, you want to make sure that the scratches are not detectable by the finger. That would be awful. And you want to make sure they're not detected by the pen. So the pen should not produce any sound or deflection. Like they should be undetectable by the pen, okay? One of the techniques I like to do is when I get a tablet, I actually take a bright light, like from a phone or something, or a flashlight, and I shine it on the tablet at different angles, because some scratches can sort of hide, and this light will reveal it. Now, don't get too upset. There's these really spider web scratches which don't matter, so you don't need to worry about those, but these bigger ones you do need to matter. They do matter, you need to take care of them. Now, what about actual testing? So first of all, make sure you install the driver. I like to test with Krita as well. Let's see. Conto. Let's see what Conto has. I've been doing amateur unboxing videos for all the expensive stuff in the last few years. It makes returns and replacements so much easier. Yeah. Look, that's a fantastic way of thinking about it, right? It's an amateur unboxing. Maybe you should just post that on YouTube, right? I'll tell you honestly, many times people say, hey, I don't, what came in the box? And I used to throw away all my boxes. Or they'll say, like, how does this plug in? And I don't have the tablet. So I go to, a review, an unboxing, and I use that as the data source to figure out what was actually in the box. Super helpful. Even if it doesn't help you, it'll help somebody else, okay? So do it. Another thing when you're doing testing, and this is another thing that comes up for a lot of people, you want to make sure that there's nothing interfering with the tablet. So things that can interfere are, keep your phone away. Your phones can actually interfere with the tablet. They can make your position detection kind of jumpy sometimes. So when I'm using a tablet, I actually keep my phone at least, 6 feet away. And my specific phone, Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, seems to interfere a lot. So sometimes I actually just leave this in another room. I just got a ping on here, so let me just double check. Okay, interesting. Another thing that happens is make sure there's nothing underneath your tablet. It's not sitting on anything that's electromagnetic or magnetic. Some stands have magnets. Some desks have magnets in them. They're metallic, and they can interfere with the tablet. Because you don't want these things to mess up with your testing. I try to always test both wired and wireless, even if I don't draw wirelessly. Art says maybe a ferrite choke could help. That's an interesting idea. I've seen cords with chokes on them, but I've never seen a choke on a drawing tablet cord. I'll think about that. Cube says wireless chargers are the ones I've seen many times, even if it just isn't directly on their tablet, can really mess stuff up. Yes. Oh, speaking of that, lots of people, I don't know why, they have a laptop, and they'll just put the tablet on top of the laptop. And the laptop, whether it have a magnet or not, can mess up how this works. Should I do a demo of this? Yeah, I'm going to do a demo of this. Hang on. I got to find something magnetic. Okay, I know. One moment. I'm going to do this. And you're going to see what magnets actually do to a drawing tablet. It's kind of wild. Okay, hang on. I'll give you back soon. Oh, and see, Cube has another comment here. Even putting a tablet on top of another tablet can mess stuff up if they're both turned on. Yes, yes, that's exactly right. I've run into that many times because I'm just testing tablets, I'm stacking them on top of each other, and yeah, it has definitely affected things. And it's affected things in weird, unpredictable ways. Sometimes it's created for me a shakiness in the cursor detection, the pointer detection. Sometimes it seems like it's increased lag in a way. Okay, I have an Intuos Pro Medium. This is the PTH 660. And I need to find a cable somewhere. Here we go. I'm going to draw on this thing, and you're going to see the actual effect of a magnet. And this is going to be fun. Okay, let's see. I need to get... It's always surprising me how many cables I have to deal with for these demos. The magnet I have is actually a light. This is a aperture light. And here, I'll turn on for you so you see it light up. Okay, that's it, right? And sometimes I use this to help show scratches on my tablets. So I'm gonna just put it, now it's highly magnetic, it's pretty strong. You can see probably these two shiny things, the little curve, there's a curve at the very edge, there and there, and there's some magnet there, okay? And I'm gonna put it underneath. Now you see, it actually sticks to the bottom of the tablet. So you know there's something going on there, okay? Now, let me plug the tablet in. Let me turn on Open Tablet Driver first. Okay, Open Tablet Driver is running. I'll project the screen in a second. I just want to set everything up. And no tablets are detected. What? Why is it not detecting the tablet? Let me try another tablet. I'll give up soon if it doesn't work, folks. I don't want to bore you with tablet testing that is not relevant for you. Could just be the cable, honestly. Let me try another thing here. This may require me to, I'm using a different cable. Sometimes these are actual cable problems. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to show the demo. There's something wrong. I don't think it's the tablets. There's something wrong with my, oh no, I see it. It sees it now. Yes. Sorry. And this thing fell off. Okay, now we're back in business. And let me unplug this cable. And later on, I'll investigate why this did not work. Okay, and give me one more minute as I just configure things. Set the display 1, yeah. And lock aspect ratio, hit apply. Windows Ink absolute mode. Let's turn on Krita. Don't worry, you're gonna see it all. I've actually always meant to record myself creating a little demo like this because you'll see. Let's get some paper. I'll just use this as an edge. Though I suppose I can use anything as an edge. Maybe I should use this as an edge. Paper can be a little rough. Okay, so I am going to attach, actually first let me start a new document and I'll project the screen for you so you see exactly what I'm seeing. And I'm going to attach, yeah, it slides off a little bit, but it is sticking there. So somewhere here, and what we're going to do is we're going to hit tab here. Oh, actually, for tab, let's just get a correct pen. So give me a moment. Let me try drawing with a pen and get the right brush. Yep, black. Maybe this should be a little thicker. Oh, sorry. Sorry, folks. Okay. Let me increase the size of this a bit more. And you're going to see what happens, how magnets affect. This is the most typical thing that will happen with a tablet. Now I'm going to draw some lines up and down, okay? And we'll see if you can figure out where the, actually, let me use the this edge of the paper here, because otherwise you'll think it's me that's causing the problem. Now don't worry if the lines get diagonal or not. They will get diagonal, but you'll see what happens here, okay? Oh shit, my mistake. Actually, I'm gonna do this freehand because it's complicated with the pen. Okay, you see this? That's not me. You see this weird, like there's a shifting of the stroke. I'm drawing a straight line. But you see how distorted that's getting? There's like a weird kind of bend, a distortion, a rip in space-time fabric, okay? Like, I'm drawing as much as I can a straight line, but you can see in this middle area, it looks like something's bubbling, something is pulling or pushing the lines away. That's the magnet, okay? So I just wanted to make sure you saw what actually occurs when you have a magnet underneath the tablet, okay? This happens a lot. You would not believe the number of people who put their tablet on top of a laptop or a stand for their iPad, which is magnetic, or in some cases a desk, which has a magnetized surface. Yeah, it's like a gravity well. Exactly, Konto, exactly. And it's actually a cool effect, but you don't want it. You do not want it. Now, one more thing. I have never seen this permanently damage the tablet, okay? That being said, I don't recommend you attach magnets to your tablet like I just did for any extended period of time. Will they hurt it? I don't know. I'm not an electronics talking guy, but I've never had it in my testing. It's never hurt anything, but you don't want to do it. Just don't do it. Okay, that was my magnet thing. So you want to avoid interference from phones, chargers, magnets. Okay, now let's get back to, okay, now I'm going to do this sort of by showing it to you. I'll unplug the tablet. Now what I like to do is test the tablet like this. You want to make sure you are drawing, you're able to touch every position. Like you have to draw in Krita. In the active area, make sure you're getting the entire surface. Don't just do lines in the middle, right? Make sure you're getting in the edges, okay? You don't have to bring a ruler, just make sure you can get, and it's just, what you're looking for is things where sometimes a broken digitizer will often skip a region like this. You'll just jump over it, like it won't register the pen in that region. Could be a horizontal region, could be a vertical region. You just want to make sure you can draw everywhere, that's it, okay? So no gaps. You want to make sure nothing weird happens. And this is something you should do with both pen displays and pen tablets. I wonder how iPad Pro manages with its strong magnet side. Yeah, I don't know. Well, actually, I do know. Well, sorry, I don't know. First of all, they use a slightly different technology. They use capacitive sensing. So that itself may be one reason why it's different. However, that is also electromagnetic in essence. So I'm not sure whether they're able to avoid it. Maybe it's the orientation of the magnet. I'm not sure, because that magnet is not far from their display either. Similar Konto says, similar to testing your brand new TV for dead pixels. Yes, and we'll get to that. We're actually, dead pixel testing is an actual test. Okay, the next thing, besides just general position, is you want to test pressure, okay? How do you test pressure? Now, in the driver, in all tablet drivers, there's a place where you can test what they call the pressure curve. What we now will start calling, thanks to Arch, the post-processing pressure curve, okay? Or something like that. And what are you looking for? You're looking for, of course, a couple of things. All the basic stuff should work. So first, you want to make sure pressure is not stuck. Like some pens get stuck at 100% pressure. Some pens, you have to press way too hard to get to 100% pressure. Some of that's normal and some of it's excessive. Like if you're straining to get to 100%, like it's hard for you physically, like it's scary with how much force you're using, that's a problem with the pen. Lots of people though, just to be completely clear, not everyone has the same hand strength, right? Now with my years of heavy tablet usage, I've developed enormous hand strength. That's a joke, folks. No one has hand strength due to tablet usage. But what I'm trying to get at here is not everyone actually has, they have weakness in their hands. It happens all the time. I see it on Reddit. And they can't get to 100%. And so for them, you change the pressure curve, the post-processing curve, so that it works better for them. The other thing you check is, of course, initial activation force. You want to make sure, if I had to roughly say it, you want to make sure that as you're dragging the pen, you can draw anytime you feel like your hands can feel the surface. So not your hands like on the tablet, but like if I can tell just by feeling that my pen is touching the tablet, like I can detect it in my fingers like this, I should be drawing something. That is low IAF, low initial activation force, okay? And then you want to make sure you're going from thick strokes, like thin to thick, right? Draw strokes, make sure it just feels nice, okay? Remember that at low pressure, the pressure will be jumpy, so a pressure curve will help that. So don't read too much into like, it's hard to control pressure at low pressure because that's actually normal. And you want to use the pressure curve to address that. Art says, probably not a good idea to keep maxing out Pro Pen for hand longevity every year. Yeah. I have one of my Pro Pen 2s is actually defective. And it has a crazy high max pressure of like 3.5 kilograms, which is like, what is that? Let's just say it's 7 pounds, right? In human units. And that's a lot of force. And it's not possible to get to 100%. If I had tested the pressure on my canvas, this is Kanto speaking, I'd have realized that PW550 was kind of off, going to do this from now on. Yeah, always test it. Always test it. And I apologize, there's a lot to test, but many people don't test their tablets. But if you do, get it, and you're look, even if you're unsatisfied and things are working, just return it, okay? Don't suffer with a bad experience if you're not happy. Another thing, even though I don't draw with tilt, you should actually test the tilt. Pick a brush, make sure tilt is on, and just verify it works in all the directions, right? I've never seen a pen fail to correctly do tilt, but you should test. Remember that not all tablets support tilt though, so. Okay, now, you can't see the pointer, obviously there's no screen here, but with a pen display you can. And what you want to do there is take the pen, now hold it vertically, like this, okay? Not bent. Hold it vertically, which is not normal, it's abnormal. Normally you hold it like this, about 45 degrees. Hold it vertically, and just like if you've ever been at a dentist and they take this piece of metal and they just poke, and they just see how much your gum, how deeply they can poke. Sometimes it can hurt, actually. You want to do that same sort of process here. You want to poke and just look. And remember, imagine there's a screen here. You want to make sure that the tip is aligned with where the pointer is, okay? And don't do it just in the middle. That's where they're very accurate. You want to do it, do it at the tip, do it all around. Like, I don't know, do it 25 times, but make sure you get the corners, right? So 4 corners and 4 edges, and then all around this here, okay? There's always going to be some deviation in the last 3 millimeters, okay? You just don't want that deviation to be too crazy. things will get they're very accurate here, all the way to the last couple of millimeters. Then they'll start to either go left or right or top or down, and that kind of thing. Okay, so you got to test that. Konto says stabbing force. Yes, sometimes it does feel like they're stabbing you. Now, this was holding the pen vertically. Then you hold it normally, okay? And actually, before we do that, let me just try to explain what we're testing is something called tilt compensation. You want to hold it vertically, let's say in the middle, and you want to tilt it right, left, remember, up to 60 degrees, up and down. And you want to see how much the pointer will deviate. Always there will be some deviation, okay? It can be minor. I like to see that the pointer on a good tablet deviates only about as much. Sorry, I'm taking my glasses off because I can't see. It deviates only about as much as the width of the nib. Let's say the nib is 1 millimeter, okay? That's normal and that's good. Even the best Wacom tablets will deviate by 1 millimeter as you tilt left or right or up or down, okay? Now, properly speaking, you should do this not just in the middle, but toward a quarter toward the edges and the corners, and then closer to the edge. Now, you should see a couple of things. Now, I've never personally noticed too much difference as you move toward the edge. However, I have seen the following phenomenon. The pen, the pointer will displace maybe on the right less than when you go to the left, okay? Now, some displacement's okay. If you're doing like this and the pointer's a little bit to the left, then that's fine actually because you can still see the pointer. It's more problematic when the pointer is moving underneath your hand because you can't see it. But in any case, be satisfied with how much tilt there is, okay? It's not the pen's fault, by the way. This is the tablet. I've never seen much variation of this, but sometimes people get a tablet and it's way off, way off. But that's relatively rare. I did notice, okay, Konto says, I did notice slight deviation in canvas. The calibration exercise helps. Great. That's another perfect tip, Konto. If you're noticing when you're doing this test, like straight up, if you're noticing there's some deviation, try the calibration then, okay? Because that will, now, to be honest, calibration has been a mixed bag for me. Sometimes it helps. I've never seen it restore, I've never seen it give perfection. There's always a little bit of, it doesn't quite match up to what you'd expect, but it's often better than where you started. Now, having said that, if I'm happy with the tablet at the beginning, I think calibration is one of those things that you're more likely to mess up the pen registration than if you just left it alone. It's only do calibration if you really need to do calibration. Because again, it's never delivered perfect results. It's always just improved the situation. And if you're not happy with it, return the tablet. So that was pen tracking accuracy. Okay. Now, again, I'm talking to you as if you're getting the tablet. You could ask these questions of a eBay seller. I don't know, honestly, if many would be up for entertaining these requests of testing or know how to do them, but it's worth at least some of these maybe asking, okay? Express keys, just make all the express keys work. Just verify they work, that they're assignable. Sometimes express keys can be sticky, sometimes they can stick completely, or they just don't work. Okay, let me take a sip of water and then we'll get to some other testing topics. And let me check what was I checking here? Oh, here we go, hang on. As I rehydrate. Okay. So check for stuck or dead pixels. Now, let me just assure you this. Let's suppose, I don't know how many pixels are in a 4K display or whatever. Let's suppose you find a dead or stuck pixel. So it's either white or black or some color. As far as I know, nobody, no tablet manufacturer, no monitor manufacturer either. If you call them up and say, "Hey, I have a dead pixel," they're just going to tell you tough luck. And usually, like somewhere, they'll have a policy that says, you can expect that there might be a couple of dead pixels. I'm not sure they have a specific number. They'll only return your tablet if there are like a lot of them. Okay, so just be aware of that. Now, this is one reason I think people buy tablets on Amazon, because they're less picky on returns. But at the very least, take a good look to make sure you're happy with it. I personally have never had a tablet that had a dead pixel. In fact, in my history of buying monitors since, let's just say LCD displays, since 2003, I've had a stuck pixel at least once, maybe twice. Okay, and that's with lots of different monitors over, like 25 years. Okay, pointer lag. So honestly, pointer lag it's up to the beholder. Move the pointer around. On a pen tablet, if it feels off to you, most pen tablets have very good pointer lag, so you just have to adjust. Pen displays all have a lot of obvious pointer lag, and that's partly because you can just see the pointers versus the actual pen position. So just be okay with it, because honestly, you're not going to be able to return it and get a better one. Even the best, most expensive Wacom has just a little bit less pointer lag on its screen than a cheap XP pen tablet. I can confirm that. I've tested this. Anti-glare sparkle. Oh yeah, this is a tough one. This is something which I've mentioned. I'm going to show it to you so people don't get confused. You've got to make sure you know about this one. Anti-glare sparkle, okay. So, I have a page on this, but let's just take a look at some examples here. This is an example of, on the left is an iPad actually, and its treatment has a little bit of like rainbow coloring, but a normal human eye cannot see this. On the right, and again, these are very exaggerated photos, there's a rainbow effect. There's lots of reds and greens and blues. It looks like a mess. This is anti-glare sparkle. Some people call it rainbow sparkle. Some people say it looks like it's wet, or greasy is a popular word. If you look at just single colors and zoom in, it looks like this. So it can look softer. Here's another actually very good example. It may look more like this. Can you see that pattern? These are solid colors, by the way, but you can see it just, there's a kind of a noise there. And that's a physical effect. So realistically, this is just something you should check for any pen display, either in reviews. A seller probably wouldn't know to check or understand how to evaluate it, so just be cognizant of it. And the key thing is, are you going to be okay with it? If you're not, return the tablet. Oh, another thing that happens is color tint on the edges. So let me show the effect. This is exaggerated. So imagine this is the screen, and the screen is just showing white, okay, just for simplicity. You might see a color at the edges. The color will be purple or yellow. Could be other colors, but typically it's purple or yellow for reasons I'm not sure. What's going on? So first of all, this is not a problem with the display panel. The pixels are not having a problem. The cable is not having a problem. I am not sure what the exact problem is, but here's the leading theory. The leading theory is this, that this occurs when, a display is laminated, so there's the display panel and there's like adhesive, OCA, optically clear adhesive, then there's glass. When there's pressure on the glass and the OCA, it refracts light differently. And now where would pressure be on a tablet against the glass? The pressure won't be here, okay? It won't be on the glass surface. It'll be where it's being pinched on the edges. So this is something that can happen. Now, I've heard different reasons. I've heard that it's pinching. I've heard that it's actually getting looser there. Not sure what the reason is. There's nothing you can do to fix this. If you open up a tablet and you see this, returned immediately. No setting will fix this. And one thing you can just do to verify what I'm saying is true is put some pressure like on the plastic near the tint and see if it changes. Because if that flexing might change the tint, which tells you this problem. Let's see. A couple of things. First, Kanto says, I had to go through dozens of tries to get just right. This is calibration. Calibration is truly a Band-Aid to the problem. Yes, I think sometimes it is just a Band-Aid. And then Kanto says, this might be anecdotal, but the sparkle on the canvas might be giving you temporary farsightedness. Interesting. It doesn't happen when I'm on my phone all day, but when on the canvas, it'll be there by end of day. I can understand. I could see that. I will say, as I have grown older, Kanto, that my eyes get more tired, and that's one reason you can't see it right now. But the monitors I'm looking at are like two arm lengths away from me. They're like 5 feet away from me. They're 4 or 5 feet away from me because it's straining my eyes to look at something closer, honestly. That's one reason I don't like using a pen display up close. When I use an iPad, or my phone, I'm always actually doing this business. Glasses off so I can see it correctly. Let's see. And Kanto says, I got a QD OLED that has a purple tint all around. Okay, so you've seen this for real. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. It's the effect we get when we press hard on the screen. Yeah. And again, there's just nothing you can do about it. Like, if you get a new tablet, it's a good point you said this. It applies to TVs as well. Any device where there's glass on top of the display panel can have this happen. I'm sad to see it happen with QLED. That sounds like the Samsung, right? Again, it's very rare for monitors in my experience. I've never had it. Actually, scratch that. I have had it with one pen display. I believe it was it was either the Wacom or the Huion 22-inch. Now, here's the catch. This problem can develop in a tablet. On one of those tablets, I didn't used to see it, but then I didn't use the tablet for about 2 years. Then I saw a slight purple tint. What you're seeing here is very exaggerated. Nothing comes this close in terms of intensity, but if I'm paying attention, I can see it. Even then, it doesn't really bother me, but I just want to let you know, it's something you might develop over time, okay? But it's happened to me once. Okay, let me get some water. Okay, and let's get to the next topic. The surface, I said again, take your pen around, check for scratches. With pen displays, if the glass is scratched, right? There's nothing you can do. Etched glass is etched glass. You're not going to repair it. You're not going to buff it out. Don't buy it, return it, right? It is possible, by the way, that you might get a scratched up pen display because sometimes return tablets seem to revisit us as new ones. So be on the watch out. Now, if a tablet has a scratched up surface and the surface has a film on it, then the film might be replaceable. So check on that. But again, you got to be extra careful with pen displays because that's so fundamental to how they work, and they're more easily scratched. I mean, the films on pen displays. And of course, if you scratch the glass, it's game over. They're forever. Let's see, I'm scrolling down. Dead pixels, we talked about pointer lag. Okay, yeah, I think these are all basic things I'd say inspect and check. And make sure you're looking at good photos of the tablet from the seller on eBay. You don't want to see scratches. Light, tiny scratches are okay. Just want to make sure you know that. Okay, so I think I covered a bunch of feedback about buying used tablets and buying older tablets in general and using older tablets. Again, to summarize, the primary issues you're going to have are wear and tear, driver issues, the availability of replacement pens. These are all things you have to take into account when using or buying older tablets, okay? So with that, I think we're done. We've covered a whole bunch of topics. We've gone, wow, almost 4 hours. That's a surprise. But thanks for your patience. I really appreciate that so many of you are able to drop in, share your experiences and your feedback. And don't worry, I will be streaming again soon. Thanks, everybody, and I appreciate your time. And that's it for the stream. I'm going to begin the countdown, and I'll probably answer any remaining questions in chat. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.